due to his many infractions. He was also stripped of his cultivation, and his mother was imprisoned. The protagonist was beaten. In the heart of our protagonist's father, there is not a single drop of regret. The boy resented. I am made of your flesh and blood. I called you father for 16 years, and today, you destroyed my cultivation with your own hands. Mistake. It's all wrong. The maid's son is stronger than he is. The protagonist's Bran is tired of putting up with it. Dad said, how dare he smile? Shunin said that he was wrong. His father had hated him since he was a young boy. He had practiced so hard to earn his trust, and the latter had always only praised Qin Tian and Qin Hen. Therefore, he felt guilty that he wasn't doing enough. Se Tian added that these were just his illusions. His father hated him with all his heart. His father smirked. Junyan asked, what are the clan's plans? Why are ordinary people forbidden to cultivate? He told his father that he despised his mother, and he had lost his face as the leader of the family. His father told him to shut up. Shunyan said. Father's eyes really stabbed when he felt guilty. The father punched his son in the chest and said he could destroy him. The impact was so strong that Shunyan flew out of the window. He fell straight to the ground. Shunyan bled and said that from today, he was abandoning his father and taking his mother's surname. He announced that there was no more Qin lineage for him. His name is now Shunian. His older brother told him to shut up. The older brother asked his father's permission to teach Shunian intelligence because he parent knew respect. Shunian said that he had already forgotten about his brother's existence until he spoke. His brother said that he hadn't forgotten anything. He said that Shunian cultivated to get his father's attention. His brother swung his knee at Shunian's chin. The impact was so strong that the young man was thrown backwards. He said, that's what you should do, you won't go against your father. His brother then forced him up and continued to beat him. While beating Shunian, the older brother broke both of his legs. The pain was unbearable. Shunian begged for mercy, but his brother wasn't going to stop. The brother told his father how he had dealt with Shunian. Father told Junian to get Shunian out of the house and not to be touched again. After all, he's still a member of the family. His father added that if he died, so be it. The servants obeyed and carried out the command. Junian found himself in an abandoned wasteland at night. At this time, someone was hovering over the night city. He landed not far from where the battered and abandoned Shunian lay. The stranger wondered what this boy was doing here at this time and in this condition. The stranger was lying on the bed. There was interest in his eyes. The young man asked, what's going on? Junian was in a large vat of hot water. This is probably so that I can be eaten later, he thought. Suddenly he jumped up and thought that he wasn't ready to die yet. After all, he had to save his mother. The doors swung open and a stranger walked in, telling Shunian not to move from his seat. The stranger said that he had been preparing this elixir for 10 years. If Seinian doesn't take it seriously, he'll be in trouble. The young man realized that he was in trouble again, and it was a very bad situation. Shunian asked him not to eat it as he has to save his mother, and he has someone else to take revenge on. In fact, it's not a good time to eat it. The stranger said he wasn't going to eat the boy. Suinian was both pleased and surprised. Wasn't this the human medical soup he was currently simmering in? The stranger stated that he liked the boy. The stranger offered Shunian to be his disciple. Shunian questioned whether he had correctly understood that this powerful man wanted to make him his disciple. His physique and momentum far surpassed the ancestors of the Qin family. It was very likely that he was at General Xuanyuan's level. The stranger said that's the way it is, and he's waiting for Shunian's answer. The guy happily agreed. The stranger said that there was no need for a teacher worship ceremony. His name is Bai Tianhan, he is now the young man's teacher. Shunian asked not to boil him in this soup anymore. I think it's ready now. The master said it was too early to stop, for the young man had both legs broken. The guy looked at his leg and concluded that his cultivation had been restored. Junian said that his legs were fine and he felt that he had become stronger. Junian thought that this 10-year-old medicine could restore more than just the body. The stranger activated the energy transformation mode and a fireball appeared in front of him. The temperature in the vat with Shunian began to increase rapidly. The boy screamed that he was in a lot of pain. The stranger told him not to move. It was for his own good. Shunian said that in that case he can still last here. He wants to be strong. The guy calmed down and started meditating right in the vat of elixir. He was extremely collected and focused. Suddenly, Junian's eyes flashed with fire. He jumped out of the vat with a scream, which immediately collapsed. Teacher Bai decided that this was a success. The guy shouted and thought that it was a supreme being of Kowloon. This is the legendary divine blood of Kowloon. Teacher rejoiced, because he is now a divine-level blood master. This is an immortal divine sect. Those with divine sect blood on their hands are waiting. One day, you will pay for everything you have done. All you have to do now is to be afraid. Xu Nian felt that he had become much stronger. The Qin family will be very surprised when we meet again. The teacher said to start by getting dressed. The girl in red continued to lie on the bed and watch. Teacher Bai decided to tell Xunyan about the basics of immortal cultivation. The most important thing was talent. The more powerful the talent, the faster and stronger the cultivation will be. The division of power is about the same as that of Reiki monks. It also consists of levels. The only difference is that each spiritual monk has 5 stars, and when a spiritual body cultivates, it calls out to one of the 9 heavens. A magical cultivation body could defeat all spiritual monks of the same level. Therefore, the magic cultivation body was destroyed thousands of years ago. Master said that Xunyan is still very weak. He doesn't need to reveal his secret early. Xunyan said that he would do everything to successfully cultivate and expand the divine demon sect. Master Bai handed over the sect's scripture to his disciple, Ancient God and Devil. Master said that he still had a lot of things to do and wouldn't be able to control Xunyan's cultivation. The disciple must go to the nearest Qingling college and start training. The master has flown away, but he promised to return. Xunyan walked up to Qingling College. It was compared to the best college in Dongyang country. It was a school that everyone in the country dreamed of. Qin Heng happened to be here as well. The young man decided to look at his facial expression when he met him. Someone shouted at the young man, "What's he doing here?" The young man said that his name was now Xunyan. It was a girl. She said that she knew about the boy's expulsion from the family, and that he was stripped of his cultivation. Does he really want to go to Qingling College? The girl was called out by a young man. It was her brother Qinyan. The girl told Xunyan not to look at her like that. Before, she was only with him because he was the 3rd young master of the Qin family. But now, he looked like a pathetic stray dog. The girl said that she can't treat him like she used to. They're completely different people now. Sainian said that she was very generous, and he learned a lot of new things for himself. The girl said it was very late. She was engaged to Qintian yesterday. Xunyan congratulated her and wished her good luck in their life together. The girl was angry with the young man. Qintian shouted at Xunyan. He called him a lowlife, told him to get on his knees and apologize to the girl. Everyone around them began to discuss what was going on. They realized that now there might be a mess. Xunyan said that he wouldn't do that. Qintian, with the words, "You're sick of living," attacked the young man. Xunyan elegantly, effortlessly dodged his opponent's punch and punched the offender right in the face. The girl was amazed that her fiancé had been slapped. He fell to the ground by inertia, the groom said with a swollen cheek and indignation that Xunyan should not fight back. He would be finished for it now. Qintian decided to use the Raging Tiger Fist and went on the attack. Everyone in the surroundings realized that Qintian was very angry, otherwise he wouldn't have used his martial skills. This Xunyan was definitely out of luck. The girl was very anxious. Qintian managed to utter at the moment of attack, saying that he would help Xunyan leave this world with his fierce tiger fist. The attacker was already preparing to retaliate, but Xunyan stepped aside again and his offense flew past. Qintian stretched out on the ground again. His 2 cheeks were already padded. The young man jumped to his feet, furious at what had happened. He had not expected this. Once again he had been screwed over. All he could do was curse at Xunyan. Qintian again in the same vein continued to threaten and promised to take the life of the insolent person who dared to dodge his fist of fury. Xunyan was tired of listening to this chatter and kicked up his opponent's leg. Qintian flew a decent distance and landed with a sack. The girl was stunned. She didn't know that her former boyfriend was so strong. Xunyan excused himself and said that he had just knocked him out. The girl said that since Xunyan had recovered his cultivation, they could be together again. After all, she had always loved him. Xunyan was surprised by her confession. Leaving his ex-girlfriend, the young man said they were not right for each other. Xunyan liked himself. And he said with fury that Qin Heng would be next. 1 hour later, Xunyan was already listening to a college lecture. Xunyan was sure that he could pass the physical training with his talent, but it would expose his body to gods and demons. But he didn't know yet what level of talent he had. Xunyan realized that he still needed a magic level. Near the spiritual gate, a royal level talent appeared. He stood with his head held high, and everyone said he had his nose in the clouds. Does having a royal level of talent mean arrogance? He was said to have reached the 9-star warrior level at the age of 16. That's a king-level blood talent. Xunyan asked his interlocutor if he knew the person standing on the podium. He replied that he was Ouyang Tainlan, the 2nd son of the Ouyang family of Yuzhou. There are 2 geniuses in the Ouyang family. Chen Feng is a renowned genius who possesses legendary emperor-level talent. Tainlan is not far behind his brother, possesses blood and royal-level talent. Tainlan is proud because not only is he gifted, but he's also supported by his older brother. Nian decided to meet his interlocutor and introduced himself. He said that he knew him, who had been exiled from the Qin family. The interviewee said his name was Chen Wudi. He made up this name for himself because he is an orphan. Chen Wudi said that he would always defend Shu Nian. Then Chen Wudi was called to the podium. Someone called Chen Wudi not literate, and said he shouldn't even participate in the first round of selection, so as not to dishonor Qingling College. Chen Wudi stepped up to the podium and told the man to hold his tongue, or he would not be well. Chen Wudi said that his opponent had only passed the first stage of the selection process. Therefore, it cannot be assumed that he has already entered college. The interlocutor replied that one must act like a lion if one has king-level talent. Chen Wudi was still bickering with his interlocutor for a long time about how a king-level talent should behave. Tainlin said that perhaps Chen Wudi had no talent at all. Chen Wudi offered to bet if he had a king-level talent, Tainlan would kneel in front of him, bow 3 times, and call him grandfather. Tainlan continued and said that if he didn't have a king-level talent, he would be deprived of cultivation, break his legs and arms, and crawl around the mountain gate. Shu Nian didn't think that Tainlan would turn out to be so cruel. He knew what it was like to have broken legs. It's very painful. Chen Wudi agreed to make that bet. A teacher appeared and said that he didn't believe that Chen Wudi had king-level talent. Chen Wudi encouraged everyone to watch his king-level talent. A green glow appeared, and the spiritual gate recognized 2 king-level talents. And everyone realized that it was indeed a king-level talent. Tainlan screamed that it was impossible, and he was being tricked. Chen Wudi said, since Tainlan lost, let him kneel down, bow and call him grandfather. Tainlan said Wudi had no right to teach him. Chen Wudi replied that he could teach him because he had reached a talent level above the royal level. Tainlan stated that in the entire college, only his brother had an emperor-level talent. Wudi stated that it was just an imperial talent. Chen Wudi called Shu Nian over to show off his spiritual talent. Tainlan didn't believe that Shu Nian could be an emperor-level talent. After all, everyone knows him. Chen Wudi continued to stand his ground. Tainlan said that it was a son from the Qin family of Yunhai City. Tainlan continued to say that one had been deprived of cultivation.
Chen Wudi said that Shu Nian had recovered his cultivation.
Tainlan said that Shu Nian could be at most with a devil-level talent. After all, he's from the common people. His mother is a simple cleaning lady. Zhu Nian urged Tainlan to watch his language. He has no right to insult his mother. Tainlan continued in his own spirit and said that a simple cleaner always remains a cleaner. Zhu Nian shouted that he had had enough of living and lunged at his abuser. There was a bit of a scuffle. The teacher shouted that it was a violation of all the rules. A 4-star warrior cannot hit Ouyang Tailan. Tai sat there beaten and didn't understand how this was possible. Chen Wudi laughingly said that Shu Nian was born with supernatural strength. It wasn't hard for him to beat Tailan. Tailan replied that even if Shu Nian had great strength, he still didn't have a powerful talent. Shu Nian said that he didn't even know what talent he had. And then Shu Nian showed everyone what a talent he has. Tainlan was taken aback. He had certainly never seen anything like this before. Tainlan was astonished to see that the talent recognition stone was broken. It had just cracked. Imperial blood. Now the Ori will definitely blossom. Shu Nian couldn't believe that he had an imperial talent. He thought it was only a magical one. Zhu Nian said, "You can check again." Master said that Chen Wudi and Shu Nian had already been accepted into the college and didn't need to go through the next stages of selection. Tainlan was very angry. His ex-girlfriend kept falling for him even more. Wudi Cheney admired his new friend. An imperial-level talent. 6 years old, the strength of a 4-star fighter. How does he do it? Shu Nian only silently spread his hands. Chen Wudi took Shu Nian's hand and said that he had poison in his body. For several years now, Zhu Nian remembered where he could have come from. Xin Heng had once offered him tea to improve his cultivation. It's been 3 days. The junior cadet dormitory. Zhu Nian meditates. Lin Feng's tactics. Flames erupted from his mouth. Zhu Nian heaved a sigh of relief. He had managed to obtain 2 stars in just 2 days. Now, without suppression, an emperor-level talent would be unleashed. Shu Nian noted that Reiki had been restored and was gaining momentum. Right now, its power was stuck in the body of the initial 9-star level, and that was preventing it from breaking through. Shu Nian remembered how Master had told him that the body should fight in a real battle. Zhu Nian decided that he was ready to go to the arena. College students will receive 100 points each month to exchange them for basic life materials. It's common to bet on the winner at these fights. Zhu Nian decided that he would hide his identity. It was a dark arena list. Zhu Nian decided to bet, and the winner of one contest. The self-proclaimed dragon god entered the arena. The warrior was ready for a fight. The opponent said, "How did this junior 9-star cadet dare to challenge the star dimension?" The fighter replied that it is not forbidden for the junior to call out the middle class. Tiger said he would use only his fist. and would teach his opponent a lesson. The tiger pounced on his opponent, stretching his arm forward and saying that this blow would end their battle. The self-proclaimed dragon god calmly dodged the attack and stabbed at his opponent's chest. Tiger was astonished at how this was possible. The opponent said that the power was good, but the technique should be worked on. Tiger was surprised at his opponent's speed. Surely he's a novice? The warrior said that he was an initial 9-star level god. He suggested that the opponent show all his abilities, otherwise there might not be another chance. Tiger said that now he will show everything he can do. The opponent will be badly hurt. Tiger decided to use the sandstorm technique. Shunian tried to understand what was the whole point of battles. The young men set up to throw as many punches as possible at their opponent. The energies of the warriors collided in a confrontation. The tiger powerfully flew off to the side. Shunian thanked him for the lesson. He was all radiating a powerful energy. Another blow, and the tiger flew away from his opponent again. Shunian was in the arena, and his opponent was downed. Shunian was satisfied. He had finally succeeded. Now, with the improvement in divine ability, he would be able to boldly fight 3-star star-level opponents. Chen Woody said that there are only 10 of them, but only the top 3 can be called beauties. Shunian asked what was the difference between them. All 3 girls have stunning looks, character, talent, and status. Chen Woody took Shunian along. He said that they couldn't miss the chance and should see one of them. They approached the Zanking Pavilion of the Kingling College. Shunian saw the girl and realized it was her. The year before, Shunian had been hunting in the forest. There was a deer there. His knife was sharpened. And then a beautiful girl in a pink robe appeared. She fell senseless at the young man's feet. The guy thought she had been hunted and shot with a crossbow. He put her on his shoulders and ran. It was hard for him to run with her on his back. The young man found a cave, and they hid there. He looked out stealthily from his ambush. The young man saw 3 hunters searching unsuccessfully for their prey. The girl began to regain consciousness. The girl had an arrow sticking out of her chest. The boy realized that the arrow was poisoned. He realized that the arrow was poisoned. The guy broke the arrow and pulled it out of the girl's body. The young man apologized, saying he was trying to save her and didn't want to hurt her. The guy, all anxious, sucked blood from the young stranger's chest. The young man immediately dressed her wound. He planned to visit her another day. His gaze was honest and naive. The young man noticed a jade pendant on the girl's belt. The young man thought he'd lost it in the woods, but the girl picked it up in a cave. She's been carrying it around with her all this time. This pendant was precious to Shunian. His mother had crafted the pendant for his future bride. Chen Woody decided that all this was for a reason. Chen Woody said that this girl is 3rd on the list of charms. Shunian tried to chase the immodest thoughts away from him. Chen Woody said that she now has a king-level talent. She went to college for 2 years. Now she's a Star Wars player. Shunian thought that a 16-year-old man from Star Wars was worthy of being the main pride of Qianhai City. Chen Woody said that if Shunian is in love, he has no chance. But for his imperial-level talent, she would also be suitable. Shunian asked if she had a lover. Someone called out to Sister Zhuo. The young man asked if she was here, showing the girl the notebook. He said it was no wonder she wasn't home. Chen Woody said his brother went from a 9-star warrior to a 1-star warrior in the Star World. The girl told Qinghan to call her Murong Zhui since they are not close. The young man was upset that they were so far apart, since they were from the same town. The young man promised the girl to find the martial skills she was looking for. The guy said he'd stay out of the way and wait for her, and then he'd walk her home. People on the outside have pointed out that he should be ashamed, since the girl doesn't want to be with him. The guy got really pissed off. The brothers met, and the eldest said that he didn't expect to meet Shunian here. Wouldn't he like to challenge him? Shunian said that he was no longer afraid of him. Big brother said that he didn't expect Shunian to hate him so much after what he had done to him. Everyone around me was very surprised. The girl heard the 2 brothers talking. The older brother asked if Shunian wanted to fight him. You're still young after all. Big brother said that he could ask father to let Shunian return home. Father will let you come back. I am also sincerely kind to you. He said that this Shunian really doesn't have a soul. Shunian said, admiring his brother's ability to lie through his teeth. Shunian said, my brother dishonored the maid, killed her and took 2 more lives. You used my father to kick me out of the house. The older brother expressed surprise. Shunian said that this maid had a strong back and 90 kilograms of weight. Shunian said that when she died, he held her apron and had her fragrance on it. The older brother lowered his head in shame. The girl covered her mouth with her hand. Elder brother said Shunian does not know remorse. Qin Heng said that he would teach a lesson in place of his father. Shunian said that there wasn't enough room and one should go outside. The brothers went out into the street. Everyone around them wondered how there could be an argument between the brothers. Shu Nian had recently entered college. He is a 6-star warrior. Qin Hen is a star warrior player. Shunen noted that his brother has a very strong aura. He creates a powerful gust. Shin Heng told his brother not to blame him for his death. The hand-to-hand combat between the brothers has begun. The brothers did not spare each other and threw punches. It was hard to determine who would emerge victorious. The girl noted that Shunyan was able to resist his brother's attack even though he only had the aura of a 6-star warrior. Shin Heng asked his brother, did he really want to win being a starfighter with the cultivation of a 6-star warrior? His older brother has decided to make Shunyan a total loser. He will never give him a chance to develop and grow again. Even if he has an emperor-level talent. Shunyan said he's not a 6-star warrior. Brother is wrong. Shunyan prepared to attack and spurted out a sea of energy. Everyone decided that Shunyan wanted to make a breakthrough in battle. The girl watched with interest. Shin Heng said that he wouldn't leave a single chance for Shunyan. Shin Heng rushed forward with a victorious shout. Shunyan fearlessly met him. The warrior's face was twisted with horror. The brothers didn't want to give in to each other. Shunyan delivered a crushing blow to his brother's chest. The older brother stopped and started coughing up blood. As he fell, he wondered how this could have happened. He couldn't understand how his younger brother was able to defeat him. Shunyan said that nothing was impossible. He was able to win even as a 6-star warrior. Shunyan pointed out that fortunately for his brother, it is forbidden to kill in college. He can get out of college because of revenge. The older brother was frightened and cried out, "What do you want to do to me?" Shunyan asked his brother why he only remembered the kinship now. Why didn't he remember when he tried to kill him? Shunyan kicked his brother with fury. My brother cried out in unbearable pain. The blow had gone straight into the nest. The girl giggled. Everyone around them shifted their feet. Shunyan's gaze was full of determination. Shin Heng shouted for help. He was lying on the ground, his face twisted in pain. After Shin Heng was examined, it was found that his limbs were broken, and so were 10 ribs. The nest could not be repaired. 3 days have passed. Chen Wudi knocks on the door and calls out to Shunyan. Chen Wudi told Shunyan that he had become famous. Shunyan was surprised. Chen Wudi said that the news of the victory over his brother has spread throughout the college. Everyone knows that a 6-star warrior defeated a star warrior. This is just amazing. Shunyan was embarrassed out of modesty. Chen Wudi said that Shunyan is now as famous as this dragon god. He is very arrogant. Our junior students hope that you can challenge the dragon god. Shunyan became embarrassed. To challenge the dragon god. Does that mean I have to fight myself? Shunyan said that he was not interested. Chen Wudi decided to give up the idea. Chen Wudi said that Murong Shui came to see you 3 times. Shunyan was at a loss as to what he should do now. Murong Shui said, Shunyan's potential is enormous, and his strength is fair. The ruthlessness and resourcefulness he showed when he defeated Shin Heng made you look at you differently. The girl asked if Shunyan would agree to join her team. The young man asked what the assignment was. The girl said that it would be the lowest Zhuan-level assignment. Zhuan is in the Forest of Monsters. If the task is completed, you will get a reward that will make you happy. Shunyan said that the monster forest was the place for him, and he would certainly join her team. The girl said to gather in 3 days in the square at the entrance to the college. The young man decided that 3 days would be enough for him. Chen Wudi said that Shunyan looks down on people, and asked if the girl was curious about him. Sutra Pavilion. Shunyan thought that he had enough cultivation, but he was still using basic martial techniques. The young man decided that this time he should make a few high-level decisions that suited him in case something unexpected happened on this mission. The young man thought he needed to find a skill of ease. Shunyan studied literature one after another. His skills were improving. Shunyan decided that he could use all of this. The young man chose to bet on new machinery. If he's lucky, he'll make a lot of money. At the appointed time, they all met at the square in front of the college. Shunyan apologized for being late. The girl introduced Lin Feng, the leader of their team Snowstorm. Shunyan knew that Lin Feng was ranked 3rd among the hidden dragons. In the Star Realm, he is a 3-star fighter. Lin Feng said that he had heard of Shunyan. That one had become famous recently. He was the 2nd after Ouyang Chengfeng to possess an imperial-level talent. The team leader said that he didn't expect Shunyan to join them. It is a great honor for the whole team. Shunyan said that he was very new to the college and couldn't compare to all of them. Another participant introduced himself as Lu Chen. He is the deputy leader of Snowstorm. He said that all the team members would have their own responsibilities. The girl explained that Lu Chen is a cultivator of his body. He has 2 stars in the Star World. The next contestant is named Yu Feng. He is also a 2-star fighter. The band leader said there was no time to waste. He explained that when the mission is accomplished, everyone will receive 5,000 points. He said safety should come first, and everyone should be careful. As they walked away, the stranger looked after them. At dusk of the day, they approached the forest. The leader said it was too late to go into the forest, and offered to spend the night at the entrance. it was decided to start the task in the morning. Lin Feng explained that their target was the Earth Dragon Egg. He specified that this dragon was one of the strongest monsters in the star world. It has the blood of the dragon tribe in its veins. Its terrifying power is comparable to the generals of the star world. Lidaru was wary. Lin Feng motioned for everyone to listen. However, the surroundings were quiet. Everyone became wary and drew their weapons. From the thicket of the forest, glittering eyes appeared. It was a black panther. She began to growl and bared her sharp claws, and moved towards Shu Nian. Someone yelled for him to get away if he didn't want to go to the other side of the world. The leader rushed forward right into the panther's clutches. A sharp spear flew past Shu Nian. The weapon pierced the chest of the wild black cat. The panther flipped over and got to his paws. The creature prepared for another attack. Its eyes glittered in the darkness. The leader grabbed his spear. He prepared to repel another attack and called for everyone to gather. Some of the warriors said that this beast's claws are very sharp. Its QE energies won't hold back the beast. The nocturnal beast contemplated a plan of attack, but something happened and the panther returned to the forest. Everyone was puzzled why the cat had retreated. One of the warriors said that you can't just chase away the 3-star monster of the star world. Next time, we won't get off that easy. Junyan thought that he didn't need help at all, but he decided not to tell anyone about it for now. The young lady told Junyan that he should always follow her within a 2-meter radius. Junyan confirmed that he needed women to protect. Suddenly, some kind of spear flew behind the girl's back. The point of the gun practically touched her face. The young lady turned around. The end of the spear was almost touching her eye. At the very last moment, Shunian grabbed the spear with his bare hand. Everyone was horrified at what was happening. The girl thanked her savior. Shunian said, "You are always welcome." The young man wondered, who could have been sneaking shots? It's not like they were hurting anyone. Someone suggested that they might have been hunters. Shunian said that they needed to attack the monsters. Why were they shooting at them? One of the team members told Shunian that he was very naive. These hunters can only get their hands on 1 crystal core monsters. Besides intercepting each other's hunting achievements, there are also weapons and equipment. It's much more important than hunting monsters. Shunian said that they needed to be careful in this forest. Humans are more dangerous than monsters. The young man figured a 3-star shooter was hunting. Shunian thought that if he didn't have the spirit of a god and the body of a demon, none of the team members would be able to stop the murder weapon. 3 warriors were talking in the clearing. One of them said that there were 4 young men and a girl. He aimed his arrow at the lady. Their target detected the arrow in time and stopped it. The target's cultivation is only at the level of a 7-star warrior, so he would be easily dealt with. One of the strangers said he shouldn't have started with the girl, that she was the 3rd best hottie in college, and that God's generous gifts should not be squandered recklessly. The 3rd concluded that you can't think only about women, even in a forest of monsters. Sooner or later, one would die. The interlocutor replied that a girl like her couldn't just be bought. They had just used the panther to test their strength. The warrior figured they would be easy to deal with because 2 of them were 3-star fighters. The villain confirmed that the target stopped the arrow. How could a 7-star warrior do that to our arrow? The warrior replied that their target was just a warrior of the 7 stars. He wouldn't be able to defeat them even if he was strong. The blocking of their arrow was an accident. The warrior didn't release the arrow with his full strength. If he used his all-out strike, the people he shot at would die instantly. The big guy agreed with him, and he decided to meet them himself, so that he could finish the task as soon as possible. His interlocutors nodded their heads affirmatively. Shunan was walking through the forest. He followed the girl at a distance of 2 meters. At the same instant, Shunian pulled out his blade to instantly shoot down the arrow flying past. Shunian repelled the flying arrow with his gun. The young man shouted that someone was attacking them from the shadows. Armed villains jumped out of the forest and rushed at the travelers. A bloody battle ensued. Team Snowstorm was caught off guard, but managed to react instantly to the attack. The girl prepared to fight back. She bared her blade and prepared to fend off the arrow flying at her. Junian shouted for her to step aside because he wanted to deal with it himself. The young warrior shouted out the 13 swords of Lin Feng. The first sword, the wind and the sword. Every strike of the young man reached the target, and all the arrows were repelled. The girl cried out in surprise. Swordsmanship in the microcosm. I practiced it for several years, and he mastered it so quickly. Shunian pushed the lady away and fiercely lunged at the enemy. The young warrior flew towards the villains faster than their own arrows. He leapt up and flew at them with lightning speed. The girl exclaimed, "Lin Feng, the dragon's footsteps. How strong his comprehension is. Sword technique and dexterity are all at a vivid level." One of the attackers called for help because he couldn't handle it on his own. The villain yelled that when his brother finished with this kid, they would all die. He's a 3-star fighter. The team members thought that the archer was indeed a 3-star fighter. Shu Nian would have a very difficult time. The other villain decided to attack the girl. He shouted that she should not be afraid of him because he would not kill her. The third enemy shouted that he would spare lives if they obeyed him. The young lady shouted that she had no plans to give up. The powerful villain shouted that no one could stand against him. The bulky man claimed that his brother would soon come to his aid. Shu Nian replied that his brother would not appear carrying the bounty hunter's head in his hand. The thug shouted, "My brother!" One of the attackers looked at Shu Nian with a look brimming with terror and fear. He unsheathed his blade and shouted, "I'm going to kill you!" He lunged at the young man. Shu Nian adopted a fighting stance and prepared for the enemy's attack. The young man shouted Lin Feng's 13 swords again. The 7th type. Sword flight across the mountains and river. The footsteps of a wind dragon. The warrior jumped and prepared to deliver a fatal blow to the enemy. The villain thought he had dodged and rushed past Shu Nian. The opponents found themselves with their backs to each other. The enemy wheezed, "No, no," as hot blood gushed from his throat. The breathless body of the villain collapsed to the ground. Shu Nian's companions watched with their mouths open in surprise. The girl concluded that this is how 3-star fighters die from a punch. Moving towards the surviving villain, Shu Nian asked who had sent them. The big man said he would not answer to the murder of his brothers. He vowed to take revenge on his abuser. Shu Nian said that he would try to guess who sent him. Xin Heng or Ouyang Tainlan? The big man only bared his teeth in response. Everyone saw the attacker turn around and run away. The warriors decided to chase him down, but the leader of the group prevented him from doing so. Shu Nian tiredly sat down to rest. The girl ran over and asked if he was okay. The young man was tired, but replied that he was fine. It was just that he was overusing his energy. The leader claimed that everything would be fine now. The group commander looked at Shu Nian interestedly and wondered who he really was. He thanked his savior and said that imminent death was following them on their heels. Shu Nian to the leader that he was honored. After all, he too was a member of Team Snowstorm. And this was his contribution to the common cause. But right now, he needed to rest and recover his strength. The commander said they would take care of everything themselves in the future. Shu Nian was left to rest, and the leader walked away in thoughtfulness. One of the travelers cheerfully reported that he had already found the location of the underground dragon cave. The captain said it was time for them to hit the road. He asked Shu Nian if he could continue the mission with them. Shu Nian's reply was expected, "He's fine." As a whole team, they peered out of the bushes, watching the cave. The leader said that the earth dragon likes to live alone. Dragons are together only during the mating season. When the female has babies, the male has to leave. The commander's plan was to lure the dragon out of the cave and trick it. Then someone would sneak into the nest and steal the eggs. The girl inquired as to who would go for the eggs. One of the group volunteered to do this. The leader said that his dexterity skill was weak. The commander entrusted Shu Nian with this mission. His windy dragon steps had reached the micro level. He would be able to step like the wind, and it would be difficult for an earth dragon to find him. The captain gave the young man a flask and told him that it contained the power of the Lonians. He just needed to sprinkle it on his body. It would help contain the warrior's breath, and the earth dragon would never find him. Shu Nian agreed and took the flask. The girl asked Shu Nian if he had recovered. The young man replied that he was fine. Somewhere in the forest, a dragon was hiding. His red fiery eyes were watching what was happening. The monster suddenly appeared from the forest thicket, and the entire team flinched. The young men grabbed their weapons and prepared to resist. The dragon roared fiercely. Upon seeing his bloodthirsty gaze, the warriors were seized with mute horror. Waking from their fright, the group took off at a run. Shu Nian decided that everything was going according to plan, and that they should hurry up. The young man entered the cave like the wind. Shu Nian was overjoyed after discovering the earth dragon eggs in the cave. Taking one of them in his hands, the young man thought that his supreme god Kowloon body was starving. The young man cracked an egg. The young man greedily nestled into the egg and drank the contents. Shu Nian concluded that it was very cool. Smiling, the young man began juggling the egg, saying he couldn't control himself. The next egg was also drunk. Shu Nian heard an ominous roar coming from the forest. He realized that the earth dragon had returned. The young man grabbed a whole egg. He realized that if he got stuck in the cave, he would inevitably die. Taking the dragon eggs with him, Shu Nian ran away. The young man jumped out of the cave outside and faced nose to nose with the dragon. Shu Nian was covered in sweat from fear and surprise. The dragon saw the broken egg in the warrior's hands. The monster's eyes were bloodshot with rage and anger. The dragon lunged for the young man, intent on destroying him. Team Snowstorm watched from the side as the dragon chased after Shu Nian. One of the warriors said that the earth dragon was chasing Shu Nian like crazy. The leader divulged that this is what makes Lonian's power turn into ambergris. No dragon could resist such a temptation. The commander added that even if they had eggs, the dragon would continue to hunt Shunian. The captain caught up with the young man and shouted for him to throw the eggs to him. Then the dragon would stop chasing him. Shunian replied that he couldn't frame his commander. The leader said he knew a way to escape from the dragon. Shunian decided to give one egg to the commander. The captain caught the egg that was thrown. His face lit up with a happy smile. The commander looked at the egg in his hands. It appeared to be broken. The leader decided that Shunian had tricked him. The dragon had already opened its jaws over the commander himself. Death is imminent. Shunian was running away and reasoned that dragon eggs are a great tonic. His body was on fire and he felt full of energy. The young man ran and thought about finding the rest of the team. Lin Feng could only wish Lin Feng good luck. Shunian jumped out into the clearing where his friends were and said that he had brought an egg. The young man said that Lin Feng had helped him escape from the Earth Dragon. The young warrior stepped closer to his comrade-in-arms and saw a blade sticking out of his head. His other comrade-in-arms sat on the ground, bleeding. He started coughing, and Shunian rushed over to him. The young man asked Lu Cheng what had happened in his absence. He replied that he had to hurry to save Murong Shui. She had been taken away by that big guy. The villain said that he would wait for Shunian at the entrance to the monster forest. Otherwise, he will kill the girl. The young man screamed with rage. The young man said that if a single hair fell from the girl's beautiful head, the villain would die in indescribable agony, worse than both his brothers. Lu Cheng looked at Shunian and saw his potential and hidden strength. This is a star cultivation warrior. Lu Chen said that he didn't need to worry about him, but should save the girl. Shunian left the egg for Lu Chen to take care of. Junan rushed to meet the enemy with the speed of the wind. The warrior flew and thought that if Murong Shui got hurt, he would make the villain regret what he had done for the rest of his life. The kidnapper stood with his weapon in the clearing, and the girl with her hands bound kneeled in front of him. Murong Shui said that they are waiting in vain, and Shunian will not come. The villain was sure he'd come because he'd taken care of the girl before. The big man said that the girl was very beautiful, and Shunian would not want to part with her. The girl was pleased that Shunian could take care of her and come to her aid. Murong Shui thought that Shunian's future development would be unprecedented. The young lady felt that Shunian shouldn't come here. He still had a long way to go in life. The villain said there must be feelings between them. The young man would be upset if she died. The villain squeezed the girl hard and said the pretty girl must be even prettier in tears. The girl screamed that he wouldn't make it. The villain was determined. He saw Shunian and prepared to meet him. The young man bared his blade and prepared to attack the rogue. The weapons of the rivals crossed in a fierce battle. The warriors moved swiftly across the clearing, striking each other. Shunian was all incandescent with anger. The warrior didn't stop for a second and constantly struck the enemy. The big man noted that Shunian's sword technique was excellent. The villain said it was not enough because the young man did not possess Reiki. The girls shouted for the young man to run away as he could not cope alone. The villain shouted that no one would get away from him today. Shunian said that his brothers were weak, they deserved their demise. The bully shouted that he was going to get his assailant. The young man pointed his weapon directly at the villain. He tried to deflect the throw. Shunian resolutely intercepted his enemy's weapon. The thug screamed in surprise and pain. Shunian delivered a decisive blow to the enemy's chest. The villain flew far away. The warrior's fist of fury glowed, and he held his enemy's weapon in his other hand. The thug was surprised that Shunian had physical cultivation. Shunian agreed and said that his physical cultivation strength far surpassed his spiritual cultivation, and added that his presence proves it. Shunian said that he would give him one last chance. He must confess who told him to attack them, and then he'll give him a happy death. The villain laughed loudly in response. He said that Shunian might not even dream about it. The young man struck the villain with his hand in the forehead in a rage. The blow was so strong that the thug's mouth, ears, and eyes bled. Shunian went to the girl, and the breathless body of the villain was left lying on the grass. The young lady looked at Shunian and wondered where he got such strength from. The young man, freeing the girl from the ropes, asked if she was all right. She answered in the affirmative. Shunian said that he had physical cultivation. He asked that the girl keep it a secret because this fact was important for his safety. The girl was amazed at how one could achieve such physical cultivation. Even the 4 stars of the Star World were not opponents for a young man. The young man added that he wasn't really that strong. The reason he was able to deal with the villain was because he was very angry. Shunian said that Lu Cheng was seriously injured and needed to be helped soon. The girl listened to her savior, holding her breath. Then the unexpected happened. The young man noticed that the sharp blade was flying straight at the girl. He shouted for her to be careful, but it was too late. The point of the blade plunged straight into the beauty's chest. Shunian's face was splattered with Murong Shui's blood. The young man picked up the falling girl under his arms and screamed loudly in terror. Tears flowed from his eyes. He couldn't understand why this was happening. The girl whispered out of her last strength that Shunian had saved her, but she couldn't watch him get killed. The young man says it's so cute, but he didn't expect the bastard to be attractive to girls. He asked permission for a pretty girl to die for him. Junian realized that it was all Ouyang Tainlan's fault. He shouted that name loudly. The girl lay in his arms with the blade sticking out of her chest, breathing heavily and coughing up blood. The young man shouted that Murong Shui shouldn't die. He saved her life a year ago. She owes him. The girl struggled to utter the fact that she was glad to see them. God loves her. It was hard for her to speak. Murong Shui looked at the sobbing young man and confessed her eternal love to him. She handed him the pendant, said she was returning it. Shunin took the pendant from her hands. It was a pendant made by his mother. The young man said it was all very tragic and touching. He said, "Soon you will join her in hell, where you can fulfill your roles as a couple of ill-fated lovers." Junian gently lowered the beauty onto the grass. He hid the pendant that Murong Shui had returned to him a while ago deep in his sinus. The eyes, full of tears, of the grief-stricken young man broadcast hatred. Shunian rushed towards the villains with a tremendous desire to destroy them. The old man easily dodged the young man's attacker and punched him in the chest. The old man's next blow hit the young man in the face. Blood gushed from his mouth. The old man violently fell to him and pinned him to the ground with his hand. Ouyang Tainlan laughingly asked if Shunian wanted to get even with him. He advised the young man to surrender. Tainlan said his third grandfather was a star warrior. You can't be his opponent. Today is the last day of your life. Shunian, lying on the ground and bleeding, decided that the opponent wouldn't succeed. With a furious shout, our hero abruptly jumped up and proclaimed that he would massacre Ouyang Tainlan. The enemy told his girlfriend not to spare the young man and to deal with him now, and added that his family was not like this abandoned son provocateur. The old man's hand glowed like fire, and he said that his fiery palm could make his opponent savor the pain before he died. But suddenly the old man cried out in surprise. He saw the young man's body surge upwards and began to emit a powerful charge of energy. Shunian's eyes radiated hatred and hellfire overflowed from them. The young warrior's face twisted with anger and a desire to avenge himself and the girl. The guy with a thirst for revenge and malice in his eyes lunged at his opponents. With a powerful blow, the young warrior drove his fist into the old man's chest. Shunian grabbed the old man's leg in flight and began to spin him around like a stick. The young man threw the old man against the ground with all his strength. The enraged warrior mercilessly beat the old man's chest, stomach, and face with his feet. Junian was striking murderous blows on the old man's body more and more fiercely. The unfortunate old man could not resist the young man's blows and lay motionless on the grass. Junian shifted his anger to Tainlan. The young man's eyes exuded hatred. Ouyang Tainlan was horrified by his grandfather's death. The terrified young man begged for mercy. He said that if Shu Nian still killed him, the family of the deceased would never let him go. The opponents stood face to face. The eyes of one were brimming with fear, while the eyes of the other burned with hatred. The enraged Shu Nian grabbed his opponent by the throat. He begged for mercy. In the blink of an eye, blood spurted from Ouyang Tainlan's throat. The young warrior left his foe, and he fell to the ground. Shu Nian looked at his hands in horror and didn't understand what was happening to him. The young man saw a glowing old woman approach Murong Shui, who was lying on the ground. He thought it was an evil spirit entering her body. Shu Nian asked the old woman what she was going to do. She told the young man not to interfere with her, or the girl's death would be imminent. The old woman lifted Murong's body in front of her. Junin said with hope in his voice, "So she can still be saved?" Reciting sorcerous incantations, the old woman removed the blade from the girl's chest. The healer said that she had protected the girl's heart with Reiki, and at the moment the beauty's life was not threatened. But the old woman's Reiki cannot be placed in the girl's body. This kind of fatal injury must be treated with healing remedies after returning to the sect with the injured girl. The old woman added that Murong Shui was an innately cold yin body. If she enters the Reiki sect, she will definitely become the pride of a generation. But if she stays here, her talent will be wasted. The young man asked with great desperation in his voice if the old woman really wanted to take her away. The healer replied that the other option was to remove the Reiki and leave the dead body here. The old woman said that she was only socializing with the young man because the girl today almost died because of him. To him, she advised him to forget Murong Shui. Once the girl enters the Tiantianzong gate, they would become people from two different worlds. Murong Shui's future achievements are far from what the young man can even imagine. It is not their destiny to be together. The old woman was rising from the ground, dragging the girl's body behind her. The young man, seeing them off with a glance, thought that this old lady was on the level of a feudal lord. Shunian shouted to the departing grandmother that his talent was imperial-level strength. He wanted to know if they were still accepting Tianzongzong disciples. The boy sadly thought about the fact that Murong Shui had just confessed her love to him, but they had to part ways. The old woman replied that Tianzongzong does not accept men as disciples. The young man sadly looked at those who were flying away. Shunian firmly resolved to track down the girl in the future and take her back. The members of Team Snowstorm saw Shu Nian in the clearing, grief-stricken and lying in a pool of blood of a defeated enemy. Everyone was terribly upset by the news of Murong Shui's death. Team leader Snowstorm said that it was necessary to inform his supervisor about Ouyang Tianlan's death. The college should not be held responsible for it. In his defense, Shu Nian said he didn't kill them. The outside experts appeared. The young warrior said that he would explain all the details of the incident to the college, but it was not the concern of those present. Junian returned to the college and put the blame for the death of Ouyang Tianlan and his grandfather, as well as the disappearance of Murong Shui, on the old woman from Tianzongzong. But someone in the Ouyang family knew that Tianlan had gone to the monster forest to destroy Shunian. Junian was cleared of suspicion, but he was not allowed to leave the college campus at the request of Ouyang family members. Shunian knew that he was practicing peace and stability. But what could he do when his strength was at its highest? And why can't the Red Sea Lotus gather Gen Qi? Shunian, sitting on the ground, meditated and pondered as this jade pendant entered his dantian. The young man heard someone's voice saying, "Can't you understand this skill?" The young man was startled by surprise and asked who was speaking to him. He decided it was a hallucination due to long training and meditation. The voice rang out again and said that Shunian didn't even ask where she was, and she doesn't understand how this black jade pendant could choose a young man as her master. Shunian was surprised. Was the jade stone really talking to him? In response, he is heard saying, "You yourself are a jade pendant, and your whole family are jade pendants, and I myself am the supreme goddess." A fiery stranger appeared before the young man. She introduced herself as Yetian. The young man is allowed to call her Milady Yetian. Yetian said that she didn't come here for Shunian to release her. Since he had become the owner of the Black Jade God pendant from today onwards, she would guide him in practicing until he had enough strength to assemble a new body for her and help her return to Earth. Shunian was surprised at the fact that she would guide him in practice. Yetian told him not to get too excited about this news. Her leadership would not be simple and easy for him. If he can't complete tasks on time, he will realize and learn that death is a gift. The girl explained that it was possible to start the class right away. Yetian controlled the young warrior, while he learned to wield his blade even better. A month later, a stranger knocked on Shunian's house. The master opened the door. Chung Wudi stood in front of him. Shunian asked if there was a new beauty on the talent list. Chung Wudi explained that the matter was more serious than the girls. It turned out that the younger students of the spiritual academy were being bullied, and they needed Junian's help. Chung Wudi claimed that it was about a dragon god. Shunian wondered, some kind of dragon god. Chung Wudi added that this was a dragon god in the arena. He had already defeated a dozen 9-star fighters with his junior 9-star strength. Shunian thought that he really is the dragon god. Someone at the spiritual academy is faking it. The young man remembered that many people at the Physical Education Institute used to hate this codename. Now someone had gotten bolder and pretended to be a dragon god. Shunian said that other 1-star seniors are also looking for him. Chung Wudi added that the abuser is cunning and ruthless. Chung Wudi said that if a middle-level high school student wants to challenge him, he should enter the battle arena. In other places, he does not accept the challenge of high school students. Shunian thought that it was too obvious that he wanted to create hatred towards him and was provoking him intentionally. Continuing their conversation, the young men approached the arena. Chung Wudi said that this dragon god promised to change his name to Insect God if Shunian appeared. The young man replied that he would go to meet the dragon god in person. The guys heard someone shouting to the younger disciples of the spiritual court that they were trash. The man standing in the arena said that they all have 9 stars. It wasn't clear why there was such a big difference in strength between them. He once again added that all the junior disciples were nothing but a bunch of trash. The onlookers urged him to be calm. When the first genius among the younger disciples of their spiritual court appeared, he would perish. Another spectator confirmed that Shunian will soon appear in the arena. He is the one who is the number 1 among all the junior disciples. The stranger said that he is waiting for Shunian impatiently, and wants to see if he will be called number 1 in front of the stranger's face. Shunian stood in the crowd and listened to the stranger challenge him to a fight and call him a turtle. A young man, stepping out of the crowd and pointing at the stranger, asked if it was indeed the dragon god. The upstart said that he was a very talented person with superior strength and good looks, and that Shunian doesn't even dare to challenge him to a fight. The stranger warned that if he lost, Shunian would have to call him grandfather 3 times, and the stranger himself would not beat him with all his might in front of his spiritual disciples. Shunian, on the other hand, remarked that he couldn't control himself and couldn't stop when he was beating his opponent. The bully suggested that the young warrior be the first to start the fight. He wanted to see at once how pathetic his attempts at fighting would be. Shunian warned that the opponent himself had asked for what would happen. The young man flew up to his opponent with lightning speed and deftly slapped him. The blow was of such force that it cost a great effort for the opponent to stay on his feet. The next blow came on the other cheek. Shunian grabbed the stranger by the throat and asked if he was a dragon god. The enemy didn't know what to say to that. The young man asked the question once more. In response, falling to his knees, the rival turned to his older brother, saying he was a fake and admitting his mistake. The beaten warrior asked for mercy and said he was truly remorseful for what he had done. Chung Wudi suggested that the stranger memorize Shunian's strength. Everyone in the crowd began to rebuke Shunian. They said he was a murderer and did bad things to his rivals. A young man emerged from the crowd and headed straight towards Shunian. Everyone knew that it was Ouyang Chengfeng. There was some discussion in the crowd about his place on the number 10 discipline list. There was also talk that Chenfen had come to avenge his younger brother, and that something terrible and very bloody was about to happen. Someone in the crowd claimed it wasn't true, and that the younger brother had been killed by mysterious people. It was said that Shunian was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Chung Wudi recognized the speaker. It was a girl who was a fan of Shunian's brother. Lady Yetian said that her ward was in danger. The life-threatening Shunian had reached the pinnacle of the 8 stars of the Star World, and his strength is far more powerful than the young man's. Real fear and consternation appeared in the young warrior's eyes. The top of the 9 stars is the highest level of Qinling College. Once a student overcomes the situation of Yinyue and Changzong, it means that he has graduated from the college. Chen Feng asked Shunian if it was really him. The young man confirmed this information. Chen Feng immediately rushed at him with his fists. He attacked Shunian and knocked him to the ground. The young man screamed in savage pain and scarlet blood spurted from his mouth. Chung Wudi rushed to his friend's aid. Ouyang Chengfeng said that he would teach the young man a lesson today, but he won't destroy him because he respects the rules of the college. And he added that in 3 months' time, there would be an epic battle, not for life, but for death, in the arena. Shunian should take the initiative to come. Otherwise, Chenfeng promised to beat the young man regularly and eventually slowly destroy him. Shunian, wiping his bloody lips, confirmed that he would arrive on time. Ouyang Chengfeng advised him to be brave and enjoy a full and happy life for 3 months, and then the real and inevitable doom would await him. Everyone remarked that Shunian had a major bad luck. It will be an unequal fight. It's more like killing. Chung Wudi helped his friend up and decided to escort him home. He also asked if Shunian would be going out to duel in 3 months. The young man replied that he saw no other way out and would definitely accept the challenge. The Ouyang family had no plans to let him go at all, ever. Shunian in turn shared his friend's plans to visit the monster forest again soon. Chung Wudi offered to accompany him on this dangerous journey, but the young warrior refused to help and was going to do it alone. Chung Wudi silently accepted the answer and did not argue with his friend. He also offered Shunian the fire essence that he himself was going to use when he would make a breakthrough through the Star World. Shunian also refused the elixir because it was too expensive a gift, but Chung Wudi continued to insist. The friend reminded Shunian that time was running out and one should make it through as soon as possible. Walking away, Chung Wudi advised his friend to recover and decided not to disturb him anytime soon. Lady Yetian pointed out to Shunian that his friend was not so simple. It seemed like Wudi had a lot of secrets. The ward replied that it didn't matter because his friend treated him well. Shunian noted that he also kept many secrets. The young warrior swallowed the pill he took out from the vial Chung Wudi had given him. The young man felt something going on inside him. Shunian decided that this fire elixir really wasn't ordinary. Just 1 pill helped him reach the peak of the 9 stars, and his mentor advised him to eat the remaining 2 pills to break through the Star World. Shunian agreed and swallowed the remaining contents of the vial. A tremendous pain pierced his stomach at the same moment. He thought he had overdosed. Lady Yetian advised him to calm down. Shunian rolled his eyes and began to shake. The entire space around him shook, and he thought he was about to explode. It was the truest breakthrough of the Star World. The mentor said that the magical effect of this skill was that the young man absorbed all the aura entering his body. She asked if his meridians had changed now and how much. The boy, squirming in unbearable pain, replied that the meridians were getting thicker and larger. Xu Nian smilingly came to the conclusion that if he still had more fire elixir, it wouldn't take 3 months for him to break through. A satisfied Xu Nian realized that he would be able to deal with Chen Feng with almost no problem. Lady Yetian said that Ouyang would soon break through to the 9 stars. However, his abilities are not good enough compared to Xu Nian. At the same time, Xu Nian's combat skills are much worse. The young warrior agreed that his 13-sword Lin Feng was only a yellow-level martial skill. The mentor told her that her martial skills were too high for Xu Nian to practice. She suggested that they choose some college, and then they would go to the monster forest. A day later, the disciple and mentor were in the monster forest. Xu Nian noted that Lady Yetian was extremely good. She could change the Zoan-level sword technique to ground level. The lady exclaimed that they had been ambushed. The strangers surrounded the young man and said that he was breaking the rules of the clan. The patriarch instructed them to kill Xu Nian. The young warrior wondered what was the rule violation on his part. After all, he was no longer a member of the Qin family. The attackers specified that the young man had offended the Ouyang family. They threatened to cut off Xu Nian's head and send it to the Ouyang family to rectify the situation. Xu Nian disagreed with making amends with his head. The young man believed that only he could dispose of his head. The assailants were deciding which one of them would administer justice. They decided they would break the young man's legs first. One of the attackers decided to tell the young man how his mother was doing. Xu Nian became wary. Had something happened to Mom? The villain said that after the young man hurt Qin Hong, he came home and hit his mother with a whip. Now she has to wash her clothes every day, and it is very unfortunate. Xu Nian shouted his brother's name with hatred. Another villain promised to give the young man's head to the Ouyang family and his body to his mother. It would be a mother-son reunion. The young man didn't want to listen to anything else and exposed his blade. The enemy didn't even feel the blade sliding down his throat. Xu Nian was ruthless and blood whipped everywhere. When the guy jumped aside, everyone noticed that their comrade in arms was lying motionless. Xu Nian quickly dealt with Qin Lei. The remaining villains were screaming that they couldn't let the guy go alive. Everyone rushed in pursuit of the fleeing Xu Nian. The young man was running faster than the wind, and my lady was prompting him to move northeast. The mentor warned that there would be a waterfall ahead. The guy slowed down and was confused by what he saw. A long-haired girl was bathing in the lake by the waterfall. She was naked and beautiful. The green-eyed stranger did not notice the young man and continued to splash in the clear water. The guy was secretly watching the bather with his mouth open in amazement. Xu Nian asked my lady if she had sent him here for nothing. Milady asked if Xu Nian could see the girl's clothes on the stone. Yetian told the guy to steal the clothes. But he must remember that this girl's cultivation. This is the Silver Moon 3 Stars War Clan. If she discovers him, no one will be able to save him. Xu Nian was sneaking for clothes and couldn't believe that he was committing such a dirty deed. Milady reminded him that this was a good chance for him to improve his cultivation. The girl flinched and asked who was here. The young man had already reached out for his clothes. The blonde saw him and flashed lightning in anger. Before Xu Nian could reach for his clothes, he was blown away by the wind. The girl used her skill to toss the guy high above the lake. Xu Nian collapsed into the water and began to sink to the bottom. In desperation, he began to cling to something with his hands. It was the naked legs of a young bather. The girl, either out of anger or embarrassment, screamed loudly. She drove her foot right into Xu Nian's jaw. Now the guy is out of the water with tremendous force. The young man landed on a rock, right next to the girl's clothes. He was all at a loss for what he had seen and what had happened. Xu Nian grabbed his clothes and rushed to run away, thinking that she would kill him if she caught up to him. After 4 hours of continuous running, the young man decided to take a break. The young man was very afraid that the naked blonde would catch up with him. My lady said it was very exciting. The guy said he should definitely take a break from the chase. He added that his body was very sore from being kicked out. My lady Yetian told Xu Nian not to do anything stupid. He's not in the best situation right now. That girl, if she finds him, will destroy him. He can't let her see him. The young man asked why he had to steal those clothes. Milady offered to examine her belt pouch. Xu Nian saw that it was a bag of universe. Yetian said it's a treasure bag. It has a large space, and you can store living things and herbs. The boy looked into the bag with one eye and saw many herbs. The young man pulled a flask out of the pouch and marveled at it. There was jade dragon brain, dragon blood. Without thinking long, Xu Nian drank the contents of the vial. Immediately, his entire body began to transform. It was a double breakthrough of the star world. Breakthrough, 3 stars, 4 stars. A powerful force appeared in his hands. Xu Nian thought that he now had his own fist of rage. Milady said that the gasification of the dragon was happening. She didn't expect his higher Julong body to have such marvelous effects. This is the lowest level of blood dragon chi. If he obtains the chi of a true ancient dragon in the future, he will become even stronger. Shunyan realized that the people Qinshan had brought were not his opponents. He would be able to easily deal with them. He knew that there was still a long way to go to Ouyang Chengfeng's level, but there was still plenty of time before the fight. The warrior realized that he had alarmed the real monsters. A giant bird tried to attack our hero. Shunyan used his newly acquired skill and punched the bird right into its clawed paw. The overgrown bird just flew off to the side. Shunyan didn't understand what could be special about this giant eagle. My lady explained that this was no ordinary eagle. It has the blood of an ancient golden eagle flowing in it. The golden eagle is a beast that feeds on dragons. It is attracted to the young man's dragon breath. Yetian said there was a royal ring of beasts in the bag. We should tame this eagle. It will be more convenient to move around with it. Shunyan thought about the blonde girl whose bag contained so many useful things. The eagle turned around in the air and tried to attack the young man once more. Yetian told the boy to try to get on the bird's back. Shunyan struggled to get away from the monster bird attacking him. The boy noticed that the eagle had very powerful wings. The bird turned around and went at the young man in a dive. Shunyan dodged from under its beak and powerfully jumped up. The bird was taken aback by the surprise. That instant was enough time for the lad to get on the eagle's back. The eagle soared into the sky with a cry. Shunyan took out a ring from his bag and used it to try to tame the feathered thing. The bird obeyed as if hypnotized. Shunyan realized that he had succeeded. Shunyan was soaring high in the clouds with the bird and wanted it to recognize him as its master. He asked the eagle what his name was. The eagle said it had no name. The young man decided to name him Xiaoyu. The eagle didn't mind, but he said he was very hungry and needed a refreshment right away. Shunyan said for Xiaoyu to go higher. Now they would hunt. Shunyan did not yet know how to behave in such cases. The hungry eagle easily swallowed like a worm a huge python. Afterwards, Shunyan and Xiaoyu enjoyed eating the game caught on the hunt. A month later, the guy and the bird in the air were as one. The young man didn't even expect that the blood and flesh of monsters could have such an effect. Gods and demons purify the body. Spiritual cultivation is 3 stars in the star world. However, there are few people who can engage in such a long hunt with a beast. Shunyan thought that he was very lucky. Once flying over the forest, they noticed some flashes in the woods. The young man realized it was someone fighting. Guy commanded the bird to get them down. Jumping on the ground, the young man said Xiaoyu somewhere to hide. Our hero decided to sneak up unnoticed, get his bearings and capitalize on the situation. He heard an animal roar. Shunyan was astonished. There was a warrior-level beast there. The young man decided to assess the situation first. He thought that if he failed, he could run away. It was a unicorn lion. A beautiful stranger fluttered in front of him. The Lion King lay tired on the ground, his eyes glittering. There were many wounds on his body. The beast grinned and showed huge, sharp teeth. Shunyan had no way of understanding what kind of girl with a blade in her hands was hovering in front of the terrifying beast. The stranger reeked of princess-level power. Yetian said the young man's eyes were about to pop out of his orbits if he stared at the stranger like that. My lady said it was a simple person, just the level of a princess. She was still no match for my lady. The mentor suggested that the young man look at her beauty. Shunyan agreed that people can't match my lady's beauty. He was still so young. And this was the first time he had seen strength on the level of a princess. My lady, coming provocatively close to Shunyan, whispered that there was something special about this woman. Unexpected to the young man, Shunyan felt a blush appear on his face, and his cheeks began to burn. The princess approached the lion and told him to give up the gold of the red flame, or she would destroy him. Shunyan exclaimed, "Red flame gold, a priceless treasure," the princess said menacingly. Since the lion won't give up the red flame gold, she will take it herself. The girl drew her blade forward and prepared to attack. Shunyan tensed up and became frightened. The lion roared furiously and flames burst out of his mouth. The flames increased in size and the lion became like a flamethrower lion. The stranger with her blade drawn forward fearlessly lunged straight into those flames. She came closer and closer to the unicorn. The unicorn's eyes glowed fiercely. The princess swung her sword and prepared to strike. The blade went through the animal's chest to the hilt. The beast roared in pain. Blood gushed from its wound. The defeated animal slumped to the ground. The princess said she would take the red flame gold and leave. Suddenly, the beast opened its eyes and roared furiously. A horn flew from his forehead like a harpoon and aimed straight at the princess. At the last moment, she looked back and saw the dangerous implement in front of her. The girl tried to fend off that harpoon with her maple, but it was too late. The horn pierced her body easily. Shunyan, watching this action, thought that the Lion King was really tough. He would rather die than surrender. The princess put in a lot of effort and pulled the horn out of her chest. The girl was already losing consciousness. Crimson blood was oozing from her chest. Exhausted, she fell to the ground. Xunian watched what was happening and couldn't understand how this all happened. My lady said the horn was poisonous. The flaming lion poured out a strong fire of life essence. Xunian rushed to the princess lying there and said that her life was in danger. Poison is not to be trifled with. My lady Yetian said she must detoxify immediately or she will burn alive in a few hours. We can't leave her here either. The body of a flaming lion will attract other monsters, and she'll be buried in the monster's belly. We need to get the red fire gold and the body of the flaming lion king immediately. Then take the U2 woman and leave. The young man rubbed his hands together in pleasure. Luck was clearly on his side today. Xunian loaded the princess onto the eagle and they quickly flew away from that place. On the flight, the stranger came to her senses and said that her chest felt very hot. The young man thought it must be from the poison. The young man shrieked in surprise. The girl woke up and started hugging the young man. The boy couldn't understand what was wrong with her. Milady explained to him. She said he was very lucky in this case. The stranger's particular physique had turned the fire poison into lust poison, and she would soon die if he didn't detoxify her. The young man tried to stop the girl, calling her big sister. She considered her behavior as a consequence of air shock. The young man knew he had to act urgently. He ordered Xiaoyu to find a cave as soon as possible and land there. The guy held the girl's hands tightly, the girl angrily demanding that he let her go. The princess threateningly warned that if Xunian tried to stop her, she would destroy him. The young man's eyes rounded at what he heard. He said he was very afraid that's exactly what the girl would say. The princess whispered languorously that she wanted him. The girl hugged the guy tightly and gave him a wonderful kiss. The one thought he didn't want to have a good time and die. Xunian still resisted, knowing that life was more important. The girl didn't listen to him and continued to kiss his ear. Milady, looking at all this, said that since the young man lacked courage, she would help him. And now Xunian loosened up and decided to reciprocate the girl. Their bodies intertwined in a hot embrace. Time lost its meaning. Xunian plopped the eager stranger on the ground and began to tear off her clothes. Night has fallen. The full moon rose. 4 hours passed. The young man began to come to his senses after losing his head in the arms of a passionate girl. The girl apparently came back to reality as well. Half naked, she grabbed her blade and placed it on the young man's shoulder. The guy smiled apprehensively and said he didn't mean to, but he was certainly willing to take responsibility. Xunian didn't know what else to say in such cases. The princess asked, "What kind of responsibility could we be talking about?" She wants him to just disappear. The naked guy was on his knees and the angry girl with a blade in her hand was ready to cut off his head. Xunian realized that these might be his last moments, and something had to be done if he wanted to survive. The stranger calmed down and said that she would pardon him as a reward for saving her, but that he should keep his mouth shut after what had happened. Otherwise, she would find him and punish him. That naughty boy. Xunian said that he was very sorry, but his eyes didn't show much remorse. The guy had no choice but to call his transportation and fly away, leaving the stranger alone in the forest clearing. And then the girl saw the gold of a red flame on a stone nearby. The princess thought she had paid too much for that gold. Xunian flew and pondered what had happened to him in the past 24 hours. I asked the mentor what he was unhappy about. Have him look at his loins. Xunian realized that he had become a 6-star fighter, while just yesterday he was a 3-star fighter. How did that happen? Milady advised him to take the undeserved reward as due. That girl has a yin physique, which is very suitable for cultivating both yin and yang, and it's good for both of them. After that, his achievements would improve and he could repay her naturally. Xunian was thinking about something of his own, listening to his mentor half an ear. Xunian decided that there was a chance to see Leng Yanran again. A month later, the young man was already standing on the head of the defeated monster. The young man thought that a few months ago, a land dragon with the same strength could have crushed him. Now, he can't stand them. Xiaoyu ate the Lion King and fell asleep. It was a pity that the dragon couldn't make the best use of its power. The young man decided to go to college, but to pass on to finish some things. Xunian realized that those guys didn't have their assignment completed. It was possible that they were still waiting for the young man. Those attackers were actually sitting in the forest, waiting for the young warrior. They were upset that the boy had escaped, as long as he didn't get eaten by monsters. Xunian should be coming out to duel with Ouyang Chengfeng soon. One of the mercenaries thought that if the guy was eaten by monsters, he was lucky. Otherwise, he'd catch him and destroy him. Just then, Xunian suddenly appeared and suggested that they deal with him since they were so brave. The mercenaries shouted that this time they would not let this boy escape them. The villains decided that the young man was clearly fed up with life. Xunian called in guard dogs that faithfully wait for their master. The The guy announced that he was about to send them all to the underworld. He ran at the villains with lightning speed. The young warrior's blade left bloody wounds in their bodies before they could even move. In the blink of an eye, only one of the 4 mercenaries was left alive. He stood before the young man in fear. The villain asked, "How does Shunian manage to be so strong and agile?" But then the surviving mercenary shouted that he was going to kill the young man and rushed at him. Shunian decided that the latter was being overconfident. The young warrior used Ling Feng's sword method, wind chanting, and decided not to be rude to his opponent any longer. In a second, he was already on his knees, bleeding from multiple wounds. The mercenary could not understand why Shunian was able to defeat him, an 8-star fighter. The guy replied that nothing is impossible. He said that he was letting his attacker go. Let him come back and tell the Qin family that if his mother was hurt, he would come and destroy everyone in that family. Our hero went off on his own, leaving his bloody opponent alone in the woods. Shunian was in a good mood. He was returning to the academy to meet with Ouyang Chengfeng. The boy looked up and stopped on the road in surprise. In front of him, holding her arms out to the side, stood a spectacular blonde. The young man confusedly said that it was a big coincidence. The green-eyed blonde girl extended her blade towards Shunian, shouting that he was a lecher, a thug, and a shameless guy. And this was his last day today. Shunian tried to explain everything. It wasn't what she thought. The boy bowed his head to the girl and held out the pouch he had stolen from her. He admitted that he had only used the power of the Jade Dragon and the animal control ring. He hadn't touched anything else. Taking the baggie, the girl accused him of using her things, peeking at her swimming and touching her underwater. The blonde rushed after the guy in a rage, calling him a rapist. He barely managed to get his feet away, apologizing as he ran. The girl waved her blade furiously, and the guy screamed that he had made a fatal mistake. Shunian shouted that he needed to stay alive now so that he could repay the girl in the future. The blonde screamed that since he had peeped on her, touched her, and bathed with her, there was no forgiveness for him, and only his demise would wash away the shame. Shunian took out the ring that he hadn't put back in the pouch and began to call out to the bird for help. He wanted Xiaoyu to fly to his aid. It didn't take long for the bird to arrive. Xiaoyu, 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 printed the young lady to the ground with his claws. The young man climbed the bird, and the girl pinned to the ground thought it was a silver moon-level monster. The guy warned, sitting upstairs, that he didn't fight back because he felt guilty about it, not because he was afraid of it. Flying away, the young man shouted that when he got something good, he would surely come back to give her the push, and he advised against looking for him. He's stronger anyway. The girl only continued to send curses in his direction. The interlocutor said that Lord Ouyang and his family are simply geniuses. Soon, young Ouyang will graduate from college and join the Zhang family, and will take a firm stance. Ouyang Tian, the leader of the family, said that his son is very lucky and talented. Today, his son will massacre the accomplice of his brother's death. This will temporarily comfort the heavenly spirit of his younger son. Lord Ouyang's interlocutor, Qin Yuanshan, Shunian's father, said that he didn't discipline his son in time. He is willing to catch the boy and bring him here. Ouyang refused because it might hit Chengfeng's reputation. Chengfeng can't afford to lose this fight. Qin Yuanshan once again confirmed his guilt. Ouyang said that after the fight, they would not hold the winner responsible for the death of his opponent. The interlocutor agreed with this. That's what the interlocutors agreed on. The dean of Chenhong University told Lord Qin that he had heard that Shunian had been expelled from the family and had his powers taken away. Was this true? Qin said that his son had broken the clan rules and was expelled from the family for it. The dean asked, then why would Lord Qin fight the young man if he had already banished him? The dean thought this was unreasonable and very foolish. The Lulis gathered in front of the arena to watch the bouts. They wondered how a junior apprentice could be Ouyang's rival. Lin Sifan said, this is very interesting. A junior student challenges a senior student. Ouyang Chenfeng is ranked 10th on the list of green dragons. Yufei replied that Chenfeng was actually a weak warrior. He wouldn't even be able to withstand 3 of his blows. Lin Shifeng countered that Chenfeng was only 20 years old and had great potential. The girl named Yunlan said that she was more interested in Shunian. This is the first time in the history of the college that a junior student is challenging a Qingling ranking master. The crowd shouted that Ouyang Chengfeng was coming. Everyone commented that he is handsome and walks into the arena with dignity. Everyone realized that Shunian would lose. It was impossible for a 7-star warrior to defeat a 9-star fighter after 3 months of training. The girl said that Shunian wasn't easy and he could still surprise everyone. Everyone saw Shunian and was surprised that he had come here. They thought he must have come to die. Chenfeng told Shunian that he thought that he was too scared to come here. The young man said that he couldn't help but come here. Ouyang's family is waiting for him. The young man added that unlike Tainlan, He didn't deserve to be killed by dirty mercenaries. Chen Fin said the young man was trying to be brave before he died. It would have been better if he had just kept quiet. Chen Fin pounced on his opponent and said he would ruin him. The young men clashed in a fierce fight. Xu Nian fended off his opponent's arm and delivered a vicious punch to his jaw. The fight was very hard. No one wanted to give in, and the blows fell furiously on the opponents. Xu Nian swung around and struck his opponent very hard. Cheng Feng didn't expect such a thing. Chen Feng wondered, was this really an 8-star warrior? Our hero stood victoriously before his opponent. Chen Feng thought it was completely impossible. The onlookers watched with interest. Just 3 months ago, Xu Nian was still a 7-star warrior. It was amazing that such a breakthrough had happened in just 3 months. Lin Shifeng was thoughtful as he watched the battle. Lord Ouyang didn't expect such a development. His son was unable to deal with his opponent the first time. Ouyang decided that Xu Nian must die, or else the Qin family would be in big trouble. Xu Nian said that it was now his turn to attack. He threw a very hard punch right to his opponent's head. From such a blow, Chen Feng shrank back. It was impossible to resist, and the opponent flew far to the side. The opponent said he underestimated his enemy. But it's a good thing killing a weakling is no fun. Chen Feng said he would show real strength now. He grabbed his weapon. Chen Feng asked if the young man would be able to catch him now. Xu Nian decided to try his recently practiced body magic. If Chen Feng could wound him, he would sheath his sword. Chen Feng was surprised at what his opponent could do. Chen Fin added that he should definitely straighten out his opponent tonight. Chen Fin pounced on the young warrior with his weapon and said it was his last day. The battle was fierce, and no one could win, and everyone wanted to deal with their enemy faster. Xu Nian decided to use the wind control of 13 swords. He prepared to attack. The young warrior used the third sword technique, explosive wind. He left no chance for his opponent. Chen Fin lost control of his weapon and it flew off to the side. Elder Qin was surprised that one could use Ling Feng's 13 swords to display the power of a mid-level mysterious yellow ball. It was amazing how the young man used his fingers. The girl asked her interlocutor if he could wield his sword as well. The interlocutor replied that he could wield his sword, but he could not wield his fingers. Chen Feng wondered how his finger could be so powerful. The warrior said he underestimated his enemy. Now he wants to show his strength and really see a real opponent. Said it would be a battle to the finish. Only one warrior would survive. Grabbed his weapon and prepared for a deadly attack. The rivals' weapons were pointed toward each other. Chen Feng started to attack, but the young hero was able to fend off his attack. The battle continued with fierce intensity. The strength was leaving the opponents, but no one wanted to give up. The fierce fighting did not stop for a minute. There was fear and incomprehension in Chen Feng's eyes as to how his opponent had so much strength. Xu Nian's deadly sword was very close to his opponent's head. Chen Feng also made a dangerous maneuver with his spear. The enemy's spear lightly scratched our hero's face. Chen Feng also had a small scratch on his face. Ouyang thought that the young man was difficult to deal with this time. Xu Nian realized that Cheng Feng wouldn't be able to handle him today. Cheng Feng decided to apply the top-level Xuan martial skill, Purple Dragon Victory. His opponent had also prepared something from home. The younger warrior was the first to go on the attack. The older students of the college who were watching the fight with interest noted that no matter how good Xu Nian's intelligence and talent was, he still couldn't win this fight. Ling Feng's 13 swords are just as good as Xuan's mid-level martial skills. In the arena, the heat of passion only increased. Our hero had such tension that the ground beneath his feet was crumbling. Chifan has lost hope of winning. He ended up on the ground and began begging for mercy. His legs were no longer obeying him from fatigue. Lord Ouyang cried out in terror. Lord Qin cried out in surprise. All the spectators opened their mouths in surprise. Lord Ouyang jumped into the arena directly to his injured son. He couldn't let the heir die. The old man lifted the bleeding young man up. Ouyang Sr.'s eyes filled with vengeance, and he shouted that he was about to massacre Xu Nian. The old man uttered very dangerous words to activate his techniques. Yin Yue Zhenzong Ouyang Tian. Xu Nian stood with his blade, dumbfounded by what was happening. The rector of the college rushed to cut Lord Ouyang off, but it was too late. Xu Nian found himself on the ground. The impact was so strong that the young man made a hole. The guy was coughing heavily, lying at the bottom of this pit. It was very difficult for him to lift himself up. The senior warriors were very surprised to see the Silver Moon's angry attack. It was hard to believe it. The provost grabbed Ouyang's arm and shouted that in the arena of life and death, everyone is responsible for their own life. Xu Nian was very angry with Owen Sr. Because of him, the scales of the Dragon Supreme body shattered into pieces, and he lost half of his life. The rector yelled at Owen that this was Qingling College, not the Ouyang family's backyard. The rector said that he forgives this time since he lost his son. But because of the Ouyang family's behavioral style, The Lord is not welcome in the college now. Lord Ouyang was burning with anger. He only wanted revenge. Fury clouded his eyes. The old man said he was leaving, but the rector can't get involved in the personal affairs of father and son. Lord Ouyang thought that Lord Qin should give him an explanation on how his loser son handled the Ouyang family's young men. The old man decided that all those involved should be punished. The boy's father urged Shunyan to commit suicide in front of the Ouyang family. The guy realized that he was very seriously involved in a nasty story. Everyone around them couldn't believe what had happened in the arena, and they were curious as to how things were going to unfold next. Lord Qin was not relenting and demanded that the young man sacrifice himself. The boy gathered his strength and laughed loudly in response. He shouted to his father, "Who does he think he is? Qin Yuanshen is pushing him to sacrifice himself. He's the one who kicked him out of the house." His father was very angry. Lord Qin shouted that he would deal with the illegitimate son himself and rushed towards him. The rector of the college moved in front of him again. The rector knew for a fact that this had to stop and stood up for the young man. Shunyan asked the teacher not to stand in their way. He could fend for himself. "This is a family matter." Shunyan told his father that he didn't want to disgrace the college, but he wouldn't let the old man behave so shamelessly. The son told his father that he would give him a chance. He will allow him to attack 10 times as a Silver Moon warrior. If Shunyan dies, his death will glorify the father for betraying his son and seeking glory. The young man added that from now on they were strangers. This he said in public in front of witnesses. Kinsenior shouted that then Shunyan should die right now. The young man's face twisted with hatred. Father and son clashed in a fierce battle. The guy thrust his blade forward, but Mr. Qin, using his internal energy, decided to stop this lunge. The old man dodged the blade and hit the young man in the chest. The blow was so strong that the boy coughed up blood. Father said that Shunyan is now very arrogant. Lord Qin decided not to procrastinate any longer and dispose of the scion as quickly as possible. The father went to attack his son with a shout. The young man put up a lockdown and closed his eyes in surprise. The old man marveled that his son's body had become protected by the persistent gas. Everyone thought that the guy was a dragon god since he had such a persistent gas to protect his body. The older warrior immediately realized that it was the 6-star level of the star world. Another added that he had the spiritual cultivation of 8 stars, plus the physical cultivation of 6 stars in the star world. Why did it take so long for Shunyan to get into our college? He immediately became an influential person here. The girl noticed that the young warrior was very savvy in sword cultivation. Lord Qin shouted, "How about double cultivating the spiritual body? If he has 8 more times to strike, Shunyan won't be able to withstand that much beating." The dean couldn't understand why Qin Yunshan was so crazy. Shunyan adopted a defensive stance and shouted that he was ready to repel the attack. The father lunged at him with a roar. It was very fierce. The old man twisted the young man's arm hard and he cried out loudly in pain. The opponent used a water dragon fist, Storm Palm. Shunyan fell to the bottom of the pit, but he had the strength to get up and climb out. Lord Qin couldn't understand how this boy was still on his feet. The old man immediately shouted that the boy was about to die. From above came the chirping of a bird and the sound of flapping wings. Lord Qin raised his head and saw the huge monster bird preparing to attack him. Everyone cried out that it was a Silver Moon-level monster. The bird chirped again and opened its huge beak. The old man looked up at the bird from below and couldn't believe that a Silver Moon-level monster had decided to attack him. Lord Qin used the Xuan-level super martial skill of the Qin family and applied the technique. The Lord crushes the tiger with his fist. The energy tiger decided to attack the monster bird. There was a click of some sort, and the bird chirped again. Shunyan couldn't understand why Xiaoyu flew over. His wings were broken. The injured young man decided to get attention and shouted to his father to come back to deal with him and leave the bird alone. Master Qin was surprised that the young man was willing to defend this monster. The bird took a deep breath and unleashed thunder and lightning upon her adversary. Dean was surprised to see a monster that could defend itself with thunder. Angry and furious, Lord Qin shifted his anger to the bird. He pounced on the feathered man and kicked him in the head with all his might. The unconscious bird fell to the ground. The young man cried out in despair. Junyan didn't want anything to happen to his friend. Milady called the guy a bad word and said she was still living in him. Why didn't he discuss it with her? The lady advised her ward to straighten out his father and not to let the rascal go. Junyan shouted with anger. Everyone saw a powerful pillar of energy soar into the sky. Shunyan turned into a terrifying monster from hatred. Lord Qin saw what had happened to his son and was very frightened. He didn't expect this. In the arena stood 2 relatives who did not recognize each other and were ready to destroy one of the other. Shunyan let out a victory cry of a bloodthirsty hunter. The young man grabbed his ancestor by the neck and squeezed his hand tightly. Shunyan soared upwards while continuing to hold his father by the throat. Rising above the ground, the enraged guy threw his opponent down with all his might, and then rushed after him. His anger was at an all-time high. Shunyan lifted his father off the ground, holding him tightly by the throat. The young warrior's eyes burned with fire and yearned for justice. The guy let go of the old man, and he knelt down. Shunyan helplessly said with tears in his eyes that if he could destroy his son, he could not destroy his father. The young man thought he should hurry up. He felt weakness in his legs. They were weaker than the last time. Shunyan felt dizzy and his legs began to wobble. The young man had no strength left. He fell to his knees and wondered if his father would take advantage of his weakness. The boy fell exhausted on the ground, and my lady shouted in his ear that even if he didn't dispose of his father, he must destroy his martial art. Otherwise, he had wasted his strength. Lord Qin silently watched the young man lying senseless. He realized that his illegitimate son had run out of strength. The old man thought it was a punishment for him. He must deal with his son. He made up his mind to do so and rushed toward the young man with curses. Suddenly, something flashed in front of the old man, and he was thrown backwards. He flew off and hit the ground painfully, blood gushing from his mouth. Lord Qin coughed and began to come to his senses. His eyes portrayed horror. He couldn't even imagine such a thing. Before his eyes appeared the same mysterious stranger who had been rescued in the forest by Zhu Nian and then selflessly treated for 4 hours. The stranger said that Qin Yuanshan had already landed 10 strikes, and he shouldn't mess around in her academy. The dean of the college saw that his superior was before him and bowed his head before her. Everyone was very surprised to see the dean. A high school student said it was their dean, #1 on the talent lists. Everyone was even more interested in how things would unfold next. Zhu Nian half-heartedly noted to himself that he had a connection with the dean of the academy. The dean looked at the young man and huffed. The guy started to lose consciousness and couldn't hear anything anymore. The dean loudly announced that Zhu Nian was her student from this moment on. If anyone wanted to deal with the guy, they would have to deal with her first. The dean turned to Lord Qin. Did he want to say something? He shook his head negatively. The dean told him to go back home and tell his ancestor Qin Hong what the rules were now. If he had anything against it, she would personally fight him to see if the Qin family was ready to live on their own. Lord Qin only nodded in agreement. The dean also told Qin to tell everything to the Ouyang family. The dean reminded that she was a princess-level warrior, her ancestor, heavenly warrior Xuan. The dean told the teacher to take Shunyan to Qingqian Hall. The rest of the students could disperse. The dean told Shunyan to stop pretending, get up and tell everything. The young man stood up and looked around. The dean sitting in front of him announced that the Heavenly Jade Cave would open in 10 days. All Qinling ranking leaders are eligible to participate. Since the young man defeated Qin Yuanshan, he is now at 10th place in the Qingling rankings. Zhu Nian should be ready to fight in 10 days. Zhu Nian naively asked, "What was the Heavenly Jade Cave?" The dean told me that it was a training place left by the ancestors for Qinling Academy. There are opportunities and dangers there. The Heavenly Jade Cave opens every 3 years. The disciples always wait for the opportunity to enter the Jade Cave. The young man was very surprised at what he heard. He had discovered so many new things by talking to the dean. The dean continued and said that treasures weren't that attractive. The reason why talents from the Qinling ranking didn't break through and choose the Tianqin Academy instead of Qinling is because of the golden black fruit. The consumption of the golden black fruit can open the astral palace and accumulate spiritual knowledge. Only when a practitioner reaches the level of a sage can he accumulate spiritual knowledge. The dean added that the Heavenly Jade Cave is forbidden. Only those below the Silver Moon level can enter. The interlocutor told the dumbfounded young man that she would put it on him, and Zhu Nian would be able to obtain the golden black fruit, which would help him practice in the future. 10 days later, the applicants approached the portal. Zhu Nian recalled how great a teacher the dean of the academy was. She taught him hand-to-hand combat. She has a fine figure and good character. And then someone called out to the young man. 2 disciples stood in front of him, and one said that Ouyang Chengfeng was his cousin. And he added that if Zhu Nian was willing to destroy his martial prowess, then he would put his grudges behind him. Zhu Nian replied that he was worthy of his cousin. The same manner of speaking. The young man offered to do it right now, to fight. His interlocutor became angry, but remained silent. The seniors said the dean and elders would be here soon too. The girl remarked that if he wanted to become famous right now, he should challenge the dean's apprentice to a fight. Chen Feng's cousin was once again silent in response. He thought a bunch of losers had decided to conspire against him. His associate said no one was colluding. It was just unpleasant to see his shameless appearance. He suggested that Chen Feng's cousin should not molest underage girls, but rather bully a high school senior who is a top-ranked student, for example. If you can beat him, everyone will worship you. His opponent said he would beat him sooner or later, of course. Cousin added that while in the Heavenly Jade Cave, everyone competes with each other, and he would fight all the time. Shunian would be unfortunate in the cave. Everyone noticed that the dean of the academy had shown up. The dean announced to all the students that today is the day the Heavenly Jade Cave is open. For the next 10 days, all students stay in this cave. The dean added that they would all monitor the students through the Xuan Heavenly Mirror and evaluate their performance. Students are not allowed to kill each other. It is allowed to fight over treasures. If a student is in danger, they can crush the golden black token and go outside. The golden black fruit will ripen in 10 days. When it is ripe, students will have 2 hours to pick it. If you can't pick it, the tree will devour the fruit. The dean added that this time the cave is special, and there will be an academic competition in a month's time. The top 3 students will participate in the competition. Also, the dean went on and explained all the rules that the students would live by and treasure hunt for these 10 days. The dean led all the participants to the cave and said that now it was up to them. The valedictory words ended and all students were sent into the portal. Everything shone before them. It seemed as if the stars were creating a new universe. Young people dared to take the first step towards the unknown. Shunian still hadn't made up his mind, but there was no turning back now. The boy took a step forward and the portal was at his back. The young man passed through the portal and found himself in a new territory. There was a huge mountain in front of him. Someone behind his back said that Shunian was a lucky man. It was Chenfeng's cousin. He asked the young man if he would be willing to crush his token himself. Shunian asked his interlocutor if he was sure that he wouldn't be beaten right now. Cousin replied that he now intended to hold Shunian accountable. Those observing from the outside through the mirror noted that Shunian was next to Ling Han. The dean at this time decided to have a cup of coffee. Looking at the young man, she thought he was so unlucky. Shunian said that he doesn't need to be intimidated. He's not a timid man. Ling Han, swinging his sword at the guy, shouted that his opponent's chances of winning today were 0. Shunian clenched his fists with tremendous strength. The tension was rising. Ling Han swung and struck Shunian with his sword. He stopped his opponent's weapon with his bare hands. Our hero was more than a little angry. The rules of the cave were quickly being broken. Ling Han stated that he had only used half of his strength to test his opponent. It would be more difficult for him now. Shunian pulled out his sword and said that he now had a weapon as well. Ling Han stated that his opponent would not be able to surpass him even with weapons. Shu Han suggested that the opponent should attack first, and the men lashed out at each other in anger. Their weapons glittered in the sun like lightning in the sky. Ling Han was getting more and more excited in anticipation of revenge. His opponent coolly repelled all attacks. Shunian missed a punch and flew backwards. The young man turned his back to his opponent. Ling Han shouted to the man not to dare to run away, but the guy took big leaps to get away from the offender. In the mirror, everyone could see Shunian running away. The dean couldn't figure out where the young man was running to. The young man stopped in front of a deep cliff. There was no further road. There was a huge gulf in front of the guy. Ling Han appeared from behind and said that he didn't expect Shunian to be so cowardly. He ran away to this Duansheng cliff. It's a dead end. Milady told the young man that she was considering the option of jumping. It's very dangerous, but it's possible. And the stake would be his life. He would have to jump. Junin understood that he had to jump, otherwise how could he compete in the competition? The young man decided that there was always something to do before jumping, so that he would not be thought of as being chased like a lame dog who had no chance to escape before he jumped off the cliff. The mentor said it was a worthy solution, so she decided to help her mentee. Junin replied to her that that would be fine. The attacker asked why he was laughing. Doesn't he want to get a gold order? Ling Chen said he would beat the guy until he gave up the ends. Milady was guiding Shunian's sword with practically her own hands. A conventional ring was formed in the clearing, where opponents were going to fight on swords. Junin moved closer and closer to the edge of the abyss. Lin Han was already prepared to strike a decisive blow. He shouted loudly, "Sword spirit!" And in the same instant, he was completely naked. The only thing he had on was his sword. Ling Han shouted out in shame and embarrassment. Everyone watching in the mirror saw the incident. Shunian realized that his opponent's attack had been thwarted and now he had nothing to worry about. The audience laughed loudly. Ling Han shouted in anger that he would destroy Shunian. The young man said goodbye and left the unfortunate attacker alone with his shame. Shunian sighed from the abyss straight down. The audience thought the guy had lost his mind. The dean jumped up in surprise and shrieked. She urgently needed to know what had happened to the young man. The dean immediately grew sad and was surprised by this feeling of hers. Shunian did not crash. He tried to reduce his speed by clinging to the steep cliff in the fall. Milady said he could cling no more as there was a lake below. The boy stopped clinging and went into free fall, but the fear wouldn't leave him. And then he saw the lake below, prepared to land. The cold water enveloped the young man, and he stopped falling. Now he was drowning. But it was not long. Our hero quickly surfaced and reached the shore. The water was cold and the guy was freezing. Milady said that this was Tian Yuan's cold water pool. No one said it would be easy. 1 day's practice inside the pool is equal to 1 month of regular practice. It is very helpful for both spiritual and physical practice. Had to dive back into the lake for practice. He began to sink gently to the bottom and assumed a pose comfortable for meditation. He found it all very interesting. Milady explained that the cold water in the Tianyuan pool is a rare treasure. But it's a dangerous place. The boy thought the clouds and thunder were terrible, but they still couldn't ruin everyone. I wonder if there is any other danger here. And then he saw something terrible. Shunian was ready to scream in terror. There were human bones at the bottom of the lake. Milady told him not to be frightened. These people died because of bad luck, but she will help him. Milady began to tell him how much he could learn here now. Maybe he wants to control lightning. Junian floated to the surface and shouted that this was such a power. The young man did not want to share the fate of those who lay at the bottom of the pond. Milady said he has nothing to worry about. She will protect his soul. He just has to endure the pain of hundreds of lightning strikes. Junian was willing to endure pain to become stronger. Lightning struck the young man. It hurt, but he didn't stand a chance, and he endured. An hour later, the guy was swimming in the lake, regaining his strength after the ordeal. Milady said, "Enough is enough and we should hurry up and get to practicing." In the blink of an eye, the thunder could be gone. 6 days later, Shunian could already meditatingly float above the lake. He was thrilled. Star-E warrior of the 9 stars, the refinement of a god and a demon, Star World, the 7th heaven. Junian realized that it was time for him to leave. The college students would be surprised to see him again. Shunin wondered how many attacks Ling Han would be able to withstand now. Climbing out of the abyss, Shunian noted that the storage bag was fine. Everyone was terribly surprised when Shunian appeared in the mirror. He rose from the cliff of life. The dean was most surprised and pleased. She exclaimed with joy that her student was alive. Everyone was amazed at how he managed to survive the fall off the cliff. Everyone wondered why it hadn't come out 6 days ago. The dean said that the other participants had already scored a lot of points in these 6 days. Shunian would have to be very careful. The dean thought that she felt bad all these days when he disappeared. She must have fallen in love. Someone shouted that Shunian had met a terrifying creature. In front of the young man stood a beast of the 9-star level of the Star World. The animal stood up on its hind legs and let out a powerful roar. Shunan was not the least bit afraid. The beast moved its muzzle closer to the warrior and roared at him, spitting saliva. They looked at each other without averting their gaze. And then the guy slapped the animal with all his might. Everyone exclaimed in horror. From all around, many of the same beasts began to descend. Shunian thought that he had disturbed a pack of strange monkeys. Junen decided that after practicing, it was a good idea to see what progress he had made. The warrior drew his sword and prepared to fend off the onslaught of the strange animals advancing on him. The dean was perplexed. What did he want to do? Why did he suddenly rush towards a group of monsters? Everyone was shouting that there were hundreds of Star World beasts in this pack. The dean looked at her student with admiration. Junian moved from one animal to another with lightning speed while damaging them with his weapon. This was the 9-star cultivation of the Star World. The young man had truly made a breakthrough. The guy was standing in a clearing with a blade in his hand, with defeated beasts lying around him. Shunian thought it was cool. Somewhere in the forest, a fire appeared. The young man thought it was the other contestants. The onlookers saw Shunian move into the forest towards that fire. The guy saw burning grass near where his co-workers were stomping. A silver moon-level beast was coming at them. It was a flaming beast. He's like a real dragon spewing flames from his mouth. The young people tried to escape him. It was very difficult. The guy urged the girl to leave. He will hold the monster back. If it fails, then crushes the black and white token. The whole place was on fire. The beast came closer and closer. There was less and less chance of escape. The girl ran away, and the boy, putting out his sword, rushed straight at the fearsome beast. The guy yelled to the girl to be careful when he noticed the animal chasing the young lady. The girl looked around in fright and saw a large fire hazard approaching. The monster had already opened its jaws over the girl in anticipation. The young lady realized that doom was imminent. The boy shouted her name in desperation as he said goodbye. Suddenly, a fist of fury appeared from nowhere, along with its master Shunian. The evil fire dragon was mercilessly beaten. Our hero fearlessly protected the girl from this fire-breathing villain. Shunian said to the girl, "After all, it's a good thing he made it in time. Otherwise the animal might have injured or fried Han Xin." The girl was shocked that an alien silver moon-level beast had been defeated with her fist. Junian said that he couldn't miss such a chance to save the beauty. The dean, watching her student, got angry, became jealous of him for this flirtation, and called him a playboy. Chen Woody, watching his friend, envied his friend's ability to flirt so effectively. He wished he could do the same. But the beast did not relent, for it was not yet finally defeated. The animal released a pillar of fire into the sky and roared loudly. The girl shuddered again with fright. Xu Nian, as part of the rescue but not for the sake of flirting, hugged the girl and jumped aside with her. He was just in time to do so, because the next instant that place was engulfed in flames. As they were whisked away to safety, young lady revealed that Luodong had broken his golden black token. Now there was no one to take care of her. Xu Nian told the senior martial sister to stay away, and he would deal with this foreign beast himself. The girl agreed and asked him to be careful. The young man told the beast that he was lucky today, and would be the first to experience its new power. Xu Nian grouped himself, tensed up, and prepared to repel the attack. The beast came straight at the warrior. The guy moved to meet him. The young man activated the option, the Thunderlord's fist. That fist delivered a crushing blow to the beast. Xu Nian continued to fight without stopping for a second. As he bounced to the side, parts of that very beast were flying around behind him. It was over. Everyone was amazed at how it could be done in one fell swoop. The onlookers realized that his combat skills had crushed the Silver Moon Beast with a single blow. It was all due to the Dean. When did she have time to train him? The Dean thought she hadn't taught the young man this. She was confused herself. Xu Nian lifted the sparkling stone. The girl said that it was the crystal core of a silver-level monster. The energy in it was equal to the total amount of a month's practice at the peak of the Star World. The young men were chatting amiably. I wonder if there are any other Silver Moon-level monsters nearby. Everyone around me was overcome with emotion at what they saw in the mirror. The girl said that she knows where two Silver Moon-level monsters reside, but both of them are very strong. They are guarding the treasure. Xu Nian asked how did she know that. Last time I was there, those monsters chased me. After I left that place, the monsters stopped chasing me. The girl added that they were probably guarding something there. If the boy was interested, she would show him the place. Xu Nian agreed, and they went to explore. The contestant said that Zhifeng acted meanly by attacking her. The girl claims this is her prey, and she's gonna spare the guy when she gets out of here. Zhifeng excused himself and said that he didn't want to attack her, but he really needs that monster's crystal. A crystal core of earthly properties is needed to practice. The young man added that with this crystal core, he would be able to successfully break through to the Silver Moon level and immediately leave the college. His actions don't violate the rules, so the college can't do anything to him. Zhifeng asked the girl to help her, or would she crush the golden black token herself? The girl bared her sword and said he might not even dream of it. The guy only laughed back at her. Everyone watching in the mirror noticed that the young man had mistreated the girl and began to shout that he was a scoundrel. He should not mutilate such a beautiful girl. The girl, defending herself, screamed for him to stop his violence. Xu Nian and his companion approached the designated place. Everyone started chanting that Xu Nian would restore justice and save Yunlan from Su Feng. Su Feng told Xu Nian and his companion to go on their way and not to linger here, to avoid getting into trouble. All the onlookers said that now, martial brother Xu Nian would show how to behave properly in such situations. There was no way he would pass by when a girl was in danger. Everyone sympathized with Zhifeng. Xu Nian said that he is a person who always likes to be busy doing something. And if he is not busy, his body is itchy and looking for adventure. Our hero's companion giggled in response. Zhifeng said that Xu Nian was apparently seeking his doom. The instigator said that neither Xu Nian nor Han Xin would be able to overpower him. He feels very powerful this time. Han Xin, giggling, stated that she was just an observer. Zhifeng could figure out the relationship with Xu Nian. Zhifeng found himself confused. He grabbed his weapon, forgetting that he had threatened the girl earlier, and started harassing Xu Nian. He said he would teach him a lesson, because he shouldn't have been insulted. Han Xin shouted for Xu Nian to get out of here as soon as possible. After all, he wouldn't be able to defeat that bully Zhifeng. The young man said he shouldn't worry about him. He can take care of himself. That is exactly his job, and his favorite thing to do. The dean who was watching was furious. Zhifeng decided to go on the attack and thrust his weapon forward, glaring threateningly at his opponent. He jumped up, wanting to strike Xu Nian with a single blow, but the latter parried the blow easily and casually. Zhifeng was very surprised at how his opponent calmly simply caught his weapon with his bare hands. The onlookers were screaming that it was simply amazing. It takes incredible strength and speed. Now, Xu Nian has gone on the attack. He raised his opponent's weapon above his head and brought it down with incredible force. Zhifeng was sealed to the ground. There was no chance of avoiding it. He lay there thinking that it was impossible, wasn't it? How could he lose like this? Xu Nian told him not to hurt any more girls and not to bully passers-by. The defeated opponent said he would never do that again. Xu Nian looked at the one with disbelief. Zhifeng couldn't lift himself off the ground in any way. Xu Nian motioned for the man to stand up and fight back against his assailant. The young man didn't realize where his opponent had gone. Shunin picked up a golden black token from the ground. The guy said he could get it back and he's not worth a thank you. Looking into the mirror, Shunian said, handing it over to the audience. Xia Feng was in the college in the same instant, and everyone realized that he had returned. The onlookers, with resentment for Su Feng hurting the girls, wanted to slap him. The bad one was screaming to be spared and left alone. The dean was watching everything that was happening with curiosity. Shunian, lifting up the injured girl, asked, "How is she feeling?" The girl replied that she was fine. She has a cure for injuries and sprains, and tomorrow she is ready to be tested more effectively. Shunin said that it was getting late and we should find a place to rest.
Everyone agreed with him.
Shunin made a fire, and the three of them warmed themselves around it, telling each other interesting stories from their lives. The company was having a relaxed time. They had a good time and were not bored. All the spectators watched the young people with interest. The young men envied Shunian for being so at ease with these two beauties. The next day, new adventures awaited them. The company saw dangerous monsters on the rocks. There were more than 2 of them. There was a wild roar. The monster showed its sharp fangs and hate-burning eyes. Another, equally fearsome beast was ready to fight its abuser with equal fury. And so it was. The beasts clutched at each other with an iron grip and began to tear at each other. Shreds of fur and blood splattered in all directions. The roar was unbelievable. One of the monsters received a deep wound and let out a loud scream. He retaliated by thrusting his sword-sharp claws into his opponent's chest. It was a bloody battle for life. The tiger-like monster prepared to make a leap. He sank his sharp teeth into his opponent's paw, and he howled in pain. The monster tiger bit off a paw in one motion and held it in its mouth like a trophy. The beast was celebrating its victory. The girl thought it was very cruel. She suggested changing the target and going somewhere else. Shunan rose from the ambush and said that they would not change the target. The companion began to watch in horror at what would happen next. Shunin told the girls to hide and watch from cover as he dealt with the monster. The spectators decided that the young man shouldn't take such a risk. This silver moon beast monster of the second-level star world. The girls were very scared and said that Shunian shouldn't do that. It's a higher-level beast, and it's crazy. The guy didn't listen to them, and was already out on the warpath with a ruthless opponent. The young man immediately went on the attack and moved towards the monster, thrusting his blade forward. The dangerous predator opened its mouth and roared. The beast intended to tear the warrior apart, displaying its sharp claws in front of it. Shunian then decided to use his invincible fist. The young warrior put all his energy into it and powerfully struck the beast. He then clawed at the tiger's left eye. The tiger managed to ajar him one last time and saw a young man with a sword. The boy thrust his deadly weapon into that voice. The one-eyed monster roared in unbearable pain and fell senseless to the ground. Shunian fulfilled this part of his mission and protected the girls from the beast. All the spectators were amazed at how the young man quickly and confidently dealt with such a fearsome monster. Everyone noted that the young man's ghost sword skills and his beast-slaying combat skills were of the Silver Moon level. Everyone noted that the young man behaves like a chosen one. It's unrealistic for an ordinary person to do that. The dean was once again amazed by Junian's abilities. This was a worthy student. The dean wondered where the young man could have learned these complex fighting skills. What was his secret? Shunen noticed something on the ground. He picked up the object. It was a crystal wind core. It was a good result. The young man thought that if he knew how to improve his weapon, he could put this crystal core into his sword. If his sword power increases, he can defeat all monsters. The Thunderlord's fist is strong. He will be able to strike a decisive blow. But he must also have powerful standard combat skills. My lady asked if the young man wanted to know how to improve the weapon. Shunian answered in the affirmative. Milady asked to be called Empress and said she knew everything about all the skills. Shunian responded by calling her Empress and asked her to teach him weapon improvement skills. His mentor said that she would teach him everything when he left the Celestial Jade Cave. It would be a good idea to get the golden black fruit. It will also help improve the weapon. The girls ran after their savior while he thought about how to get that golden black fruit. Junian said that he was a little tired when dealing with this monster. The guy suggested that the girls go down into the cave and see what those alien creatures were fighting about. When all 3 of them entered the cave, they saw something unexpected. Shunian said that these iron boxes are not locked and sealed. They each took a box and decided to open them. The girl opened, squinted her eyes, and shrieked in surprise. Her companion was also excited by what she saw in the box. The girl retrieved a top yellow level spirit stone from the box. Her companion turned out to have a ground level battle formula in her box. Shunian had a huge bone in his drawer. He was very surprised by this artifact. The spectators pointed out that the highest yellow level spirit stone could be used for long-term cultivation of Silver Moon warrior skill, and earth level martial formulas are very scarce in the Academy library. The entire audience envied the findings of this trio. Milady said that this is the leg bone of an Imperial-level beast. Its Reiki is sealed, so it looks like an ordinary bone. But once the seal is broken, it will release a huge amount of energy that is much more powerful than their stuff. Shunyan advised the girl to keep this book as it was suitable for her cultivation. And the spiritual stone had found a good mistress. The girl said that she couldn't do that. After all, these were Xunyan's trophies. Another added that it wouldn't be fair, as the young man only has a bone to pick. Shunyan reassured them. He believes that bone is a good thing, more valuable than a stone and a book. The girls looked at the young man with disbelief. The onlookers outside thought that Xunyan had given up trophies to pick up these girls. The 10th and last day had come. The coveted fruit was still above the golden black rock. Our trio approached the place. Some of the high school students were already in place. They wondered, where did Xunyan come from? He should be dead after falling off the cliff. We decided not to attack him for now and sort it out amongst ourselves. Xunyan wondered how long it should take for the fruit to ripen. The young man replied that it should take about 6 hours, but when the fruit was ripe, it would attract many foreign beasts. Xunyan said that there was no other warrior. The interlocutor replied that he always goes his own way. The companions remarked that his strength was too great, and they had little chance of obtaining the golden black fruit. It would appear later. The young men decided to unite to defeat the strongest opponent who has not yet arrived, and then they will compete against each other. Not everyone was in agreement with such a proposal. We finally have a deal, but before we eliminate him, we must agree not to attack each other. The conditions for all proved to be acceptable. Panic set in. It seems that this Dugu Jingqing is already here. Xunyan knew that he was a strong player and everyone would try to destroy him. Xunyan said that he was not afraid of anything and would eliminate all opponents one by one. The opponent said that 9 days ago, Xunyan ran away from him off the cliff, and now he was trying to threaten him. He must have hit his head on the cliff when he fell. Xunyan said that jumping off the cliff wasn't a problem, but his rival would have a problem with girls in his life. None would love him because of his little earthworm. The competitor shouted for the young man to shut up, or else these would be his last words. So he went after Xunyan with his fists to confront him. The guy was calm about the attack. That's why he provoked his opponent. Our hero coolly parried the attacker's shot. Xunyan grabbed his opponent's attacking arm. Then with one punch to the chest, he lifted him high up and threw it far away from him with force. His opponent fell to the ground, hit his head, and blood flowed from his mouth. Xunyan urged Ling Han to sort himself out in front of everyone present. It was time to remind him and the Ouyang family that he was not to be intimidated. Now it's time to show everyone what Xunyan can do. Ling Han bleedingly replied that he hadn't expected the young man to fight back like this. He was willing to forget about the feud for a while. Xunyan told him to promise not to provoke him in the future. Otherwise, the trouble would be much more serious. Ling Han thought about it and decided to do something different. He had a plan of his own. Xunyan, looking at this, defiantly yawned. Something happened to Lin Han and he began to rapidly transform. His body turned red and began to increase in size. His clothes were ripping at the seams. Eyes glazed over, fangs grew. He became a true huge monster. The giant smashed everything in its path. That mountain of muscle walked up to Xunyan and laughed. The girls in fear didn't know where to run. One of the warriors realized that it was a fierce beast blood pill. It could increase the pain power several times for a short time, but it will hurt the basics of life expectancy. Unless there's fierce beast blood to make another blood spirit pill. Ling Han said that he wouldn't provoke Xunyan anymore. He would just destroy him today. Xunyan calmly replied that it wouldn't be easy for even such a bulky man to do so. Monster, Ling Han said as he began to straighten out his opponent right now. Xunyan activated his Heavenly Thunder Fury fists and brought them down on his opponent. At the young man's exertion, the ground beneath his nons was crumbling. A powerful stream of energy was directed towards the monster. Our hero smiled at the fact that he could resist such an enemy. 9 days ago, it would have been unimaginable. Lin Han definitely didn't expect such an impulse from a junior college student. Xunyan continued to attack. A swift kick came straight at his liver. The giant staggered backwards, blood coming out of his mouth. Lin Han thought that his strength wasn't enough to effectively continue the fight. How could this have happened? The thug let out a heartbreaking scream in rage. His eyes burned with a bright flame. Lin Han was like an erupting volcano. One of the warriors noticed that it was the ground-level Lin family's skill, the ghostly fire palm. Lin Han was stumped. The big guy didn't want to continue the battle any longer. He realized this was not going to end well for him. Xunyan was unwilling to stop. The young man decided to take the matter to its logical conclusion. He took out the bone he had obtained from the cave. The girls noticed that this bone is definitely a treasure. Xunyan asked his opponent, how is he feeling right now? Is the furious beast blood pill really that powerful? This was followed by a swift blade strike to the monster's chest. Lin Chang felt the point of the sword stabbing into him, into the bones of his rib cage. The thug fell down. Xu Nian said that he wasn't going to finish him off. He would just send him back. The young man broke Lin Han's token. As he disappeared, he cursed his opponent and threatened him as usual. Xu Nian wished the protagonist good luck and said that he could now be forgotten about in this cave. And then, the main challenger for the title of winner, Dugu Jingcheng, appeared on the mountain. The spectators near the mirror decided that this was going to be the most epic battle of the 10 days. Jingcheng said that when he saw Xu Nian at the entrance of the cave, he knew that there would be a battle between them. The young warrior was developing faster than anyone could imagine. He added that Xu Nian was great in battle right now. "Why don't you take a break before our fight, so that others wouldn't blame me for taking advantage of the situation?" Xu Nian said that there was no need to recover and he was ready. Everyone watched the action with interest. One of the warriors remarked that he was lucky to attend the same college with such students. Xu Nian asked if the opponent needed a sword. He replied that he had heard that the young man had used his fingers as a sword in the fight with Chen Feng and unlocked Chen Feng's spear. He wants to try that too. Jingchen said that his opponent had a powerful sword technique. Xu Nian recognized that his opponent's strength was very great, so he intended to use his sword. He promised to do his best to win this battle. The young warrior applied his sword techniques. His opponent noted that he was good at it. Jingchen added that the speed is there, but not enough strength. The high school student lunged forward, exposing his fingers instead of his sword. He was repeating Xu Nian's technique. Xu Nian continued to hold the weapon firmly in his hand. The guy noted that Dugu's achievements in the sword method were truly outstanding. Dugu said that his opponent's sword method is excellent. In sword battles, Xu Nian performs better. Dugu can't improve his sword quality like Xu Nian, therefore he has to train longer. Xu Nian thought that he didn't have this ability, but the Empress's tricks. There is a huge gulf between warriors. Milady said so that the young man wouldn't feel incomplete. After a certain amount of training, Xu Nian's sword control talent would be the same as his opponent's. Xu Nian agreed that he needed to train constantly. The opponent said that he knew that Xu Nian's best skill was sword. Now it was time to show his true strength. The young man agreed and said he would do his best. All the spectators behind the mirror said that they would see how Xu Nian could fight without weapons. Qing Cheng, looking at our hero's bone, said that it was a unique weapon. The young man shouted that he was advancing, and with a victorious cry, the lad, waving the bone, rushed at the enemy. Jingchen masterfully parried the bone strikes. The young warrior was unable to do any damage to his opponent. Xu Nian drew his sword again, but there was no turning point in the battle. The guy was already having trouble standing on his feet. A college teacher said that Dugu Jingchen is a born sword-wielding genius. People call him the future master of the blade. The dean thought anxiously that she didn't expect Xu Nian to be able to make it this far. She hoped that after this battle, he would not become arrogant and reckless and follow her to continue training. Meanwhile, Xu Nian shouted that he would try again. He activated the ground level, combat skill, storm, sword method. With a shout, Jingcheng thrust his fingers forward like a blade. An imaginary sword appeared in his hands. The opponents were getting closer, fingers against bone. Dugu Jingchen decided that it was time to end it. Jingcheng used his sword formula against Xu Nian's bone. The young warrior was ready for any development. Blood was oozing out of Xu Nian's mouth. Blood oozed out of Dugu Jingcheng's mouth. Jingchen told his opponent to fight at full strength. Xu Nian answered in the affirmative. He is ready. The elder warrior swung his sword and said that he himself had mastered this technique and it was not one of the sword methods. This technique is very powerful, and he himself cannot fully control it. Xu Nian exclaimed that his technique was the same. It was also personally created by him, and its power was also uncontrollable. Everything around the battlefield was energized like a thunderstorm. The warriors standing around decided to step back a bit so that they wouldn't be hit by their opponents during the battle. The college teacher didn't understand how two people so young could have such powerful strength. The dean excitedly added that she didn't believe that the golden black token could be broken in time to save their lives. She added, "This is crazy. Xu Nian's martial arts are top-notch. She hopes there will be no serious injuries." Xu Nian threw bone strikes left and right. His opponent was so skillful with his sword. The forces were roughly equal. Suddenly, something incredible happened. The girls standing nearby squinted their eyes fearfully. The teacher and the dean's hair stood up, eyes rounded. Everyone around them couldn't figure out who was winning in the end. Xu Nian walked out of the epicenter with difficulty. Everyone shouted that the young warrior was the winner. The dean decided he was fantastic. Following the young man, Jingchen showed up and announced that he had lost. Xu Nian said that he actually lost because he had an advantage in weapons. If the opponent's sword wasn't broken, then he lost. Jingchen objected that the quality of the sword was only very important to those who practice sword skills. If the sword broke, they would lose. so this competition he lost. Jingchen said he is going forward and hopes they will meet again in 20 days at the academy competition. Everyone recognized that the golden black fruit belonged to Xu Nian because he had won this battle. They added that when the fetus matured, they would help the young man by fighting the alien animals and earn themselves points. The time for the fruit to ripen was approaching. Everyone decided not to waste any time. The warriors said that the young man must hurry to pick the fruit from the tree. Xu Nian began to climb up the cliff with large leaps. Suddenly, flames engulfed the whole place. The clothes on the guy were starting to catch fire. Breathing was getting harder. Down below, his colleagues were trying their best to resist the alien beasts. It was becoming increasingly difficult for them to hold back the onslaught. Xu Nian had already climbed the tree for the golden black fruit. The girls looked at his figure with admiration. The spectators near the mirror watched with interest to see what would happen next. The college girls couldn't take their eyes off the young man, or shyly covered their faces with their hands. It was getting harder and harder for Xu Nian to climb up. His clothes were already completely burnt. The warriors below decided to retreat as so many alien beasts appeared at the foot of the cliff. Xu Nian, no longer paying attention to his nakedness, shouted not to worry about him and retreated. He would handle it from here. The warriors below told the young man to be careful. Xu Nian had already climbed up the branch to the fruit, but my lady told him not to touch it with his hands, because it will have the effect, eat it straight up. Xu Nian didn't understand how to do it yet. The fetus is very hot after all. The young man, without touching the fruit with his hands, swallowed it completely. My lady said we must hurry now. One must swallow this golden black fruit and release the excess flame. One must concentrate on swallowing the fruit now. Milady shouted, now to spit out the excess. Xu Nian spat out everything he had accumulated in his mouth. It was a powerful flame like a fire-breathing dragon. The young man directed this flame towards the alien beasts. They all began to scatter around with fear. No one was able to escape this dangerous flame. The spectators at the mirror noted that this flame could burn alien silver moon-level beasts. Milady ordered her ward to sit in the lotus posture and concentrate. We must use the power of the golden black fruit to unlock the true spirit. Xu Nian selflessly meditated, and then he choked and started coughing up blood. Xu Nian didn't understand how this happened. Shouldn't a true spirit be able to easily open up due to the power of the golden black fruit? Now he looked like a suicidal person. The Empress explained that his true spirit was special, his spiritual sense several times stronger than ordinary people. So my lady asked the young man to swallow the fruit quickly. If he plucked it first, the power would not help him discover the true spirit. Xu Nian tried once more to discover the true spirit within himself. The young man standing on one leg meditated and felt his true spirit being revealed. Any movements of wind and grass, martial skills, even the movement of spirit and chi energy were clearly displayed in the mind. My lady said that if the young man looked at himself from the outside now, he would see a whole new person. Xu Nian was unexpectedly surprised. The young man asked the Empress if she could reveal the secret of spiritual cultivation to him. Milady said there was no hurry. It can wait until we get back. Now we must learn to wield a weapon. Xu Nian decided to collect the crystal cores of the alien animals first. The dean congratulated his student on his victory, said to take it lightly. The next competition between the colleges will be extremely tough. The dean thought that maybe the young man could help her free herself from her fate. She hoped the lad would be able to make a good place for the college. Xu Nian called the dean a beauty and said that he would certainly take first place. The woman covered herself with a blush and asked again, what did he call her? She decided the guy had had enough of life. Xu Nian decided that if he could win her over, he could continue his relationship with her. The dean asked what the young man was cultivating for. He replied that he was practicing to change his destiny, to protect the people he cares about. To do that, he had to be strong. The dean asked if she was dear to him. Xu Nian replied in the affirmative. The woman blushed and said it was good that he thought of her. Xu Nian, smiling back, thought that the dean is not only his master but also his first mistress. He doesn't intend to just give up like this. The dean said he must be tired after the test. Let him rest, and she'll be back in 3 days. And she'll have a reward for him. The young man immediately dreamed. Dean added that they would also go to Qin's house and pick up his mother. Xu Nian became alarmed. The young man thanked his mentor and bowed to her. The boy left the dean's house and went about his business. The woman thought that if he could help change her fate, she could marry him. Xu Nian, rubbing his hands together, asked the Empress to teach him the methods of weapon refinement and the secret of spiritual consciousness. The Empress said that the lad already had a fine master who could teach him many things. Xu Nian was immediately covered in sweat from embarrassment. Milady told him to calm down and not to think too much of himself. She wasn't jealous of him. She said she didn't want to teach him for nothing. He should do something in return. Shunian responded by saying that he was willing to do everything and for as long as possible. Milady recognized that he was still weak, but she remembered his words. And if he betrayed her, he would die immediately. Shunian said that he would never betray his empress. Milady said that the method of weapon refinement is the same as the secret of spiritual consciousness. They complement each other. The empress continued that the refinement of weapons depends on spiritual consciousness, and spiritual consciousness can also be strengthened in the refinement of weapons. Shunian asked how those who refine weapons without the experience of a sage and true spirit could do so. The mentor replied that the real mastery of refinement is to change matter by controlling the flame with spiritual consciousness. They use Reiki to control the fire. The young man asked if there was a difference between using Reiki and spiritual creation to control fire. Spiritual consciousness can control any flame at will. One must develop a martial skill and use Reiki to fuel the flame for a long time. The mentor added that the secret she will teach is priceless. It is her unique secret skill. The lady warned that this method should not be told to others. The guy shouted, "The 100,000 hammer method?" My lady replied that the real essence of this method is the last step. When you can do 100,000 things at once, then you will become a master of perfection. Shunian listened to this entire lesson and was amazed at the information he received. Milady summarized that she had taught the young man the 100,000 hammer method. Now he could practice on his own. Shunian decided to now work hard and practice what he had learned. 3 days later, the dean and the young man met again. The dean handed the young man a book and said that this was his reward, a method of spiritual consciousness. Shunian tried to think of what could have happened in these 3 days. The young man inquired, "Did the dean trade the red flame gold for this book?" The apprentice thanked his master and said that he would train hard. The dean promised to be by the young man's side when they arrived at the Qin family. The bird was descending. A large city appeared ahead. Shunian knocked on the gate and told Qin Yuanshan to come out. The young man approached the sculpture. He lifted the sculpture up and once again called out loudly to his father. The boy became alarmed, and old memories came flooding back to him. He remembered living in this house. He remembered how hard it had been for him among the members of this family. He was often beaten and was afraid of many things. He had to work as a janitor. It wasn't a pleasant job. Suddenly, some shadows appeared and wondered why they were disturbing the Qin family. Qin Yuanshan came out and asked why the illegitimate son had returned. Shunan said he came to take his mom with him. Yuanshan became very angry upon hearing such a thing. The young man said his father had disowned him, and he's ready to fight with the whole Qin family until he gets his mom back. Yuanshan shouted that no one in this house dared to talk to him like that. His eldest son said that he had beaten that woman today and Shunian would get it now too. The father immediately gagged his son. Yuanshan recognized Shunian's companion and didn't want to say bad things in front of her. Shunian heard what his brother said and became very angry. His eyes went turreted and he shouted loudly. Shunian could no longer be restrained. He fiercely attacked his brother and was ready to destroy him immediately. Qin Yuanshan thought that his youngest son had become very strong again. No one could keep the young man from being massacred. Yuanshan shouted for Shunian not to touch his brother. The father of the family was immediately distracted. It was the dean. She told him not to move. She came here to support her student. Anyone who moves now will face certain death. The dean told the Qin family's ancestor, who also suddenly appeared, not to interfere. Her disciple would do whatever he wanted right now because the Qin family treated him very badly. The dean also warned that they couldn't rely on the Ouyang family because it could destroy them too. The Qin family's ancestor, Xuantan, was a battle general. Dean Len Yanren possessed the power of a princess. Yuanshan tearfully wanted to object to something, but he didn't dare. The dean asked, "Wasn't Qin Yuanshan very happy when the Ouyang family asked him to straighten out Shunian? Then why are you getting upset now?" Yuanshan shouted loudly that Shunian's mother was not dead. His eldest son had told an untruth. The dean was very surprised at what she heard. Shunian couldn't believe his ears. So his mom was alive? He held his brother's breathless body in the balance. It seemed like he wasn't breathing anymore. Everyone was watching in horror. Shunian interjected, "Is it true?" Shunian looked at his brother's body, and then the cavalry intervened. The retired general, Elder Qin, came riding over and was about to deal with Shunian. Another character appeared on stage, an old acquaintance. He told Shunian that he hadn't seen him, his disciple, in months. He had made great progress. Shunian was very excited when he saw his first master. Shunian asked the master to wait for the young man to figure out what was really going on with his mom. Master said that the Qin family left him to die near the mass graves where he found him. You can expect anything from this family. Any kind of meanness. The master said he would wait for the young man, and busied himself with the general, throwing him far back. The general fell on his back and lay motionless. Yuanshan exclaimed that this was sage-level strength. The dean was very surprised that Shunian had a sage-level master. No wonder he could practice Earth-level sword skills. Master said that Xu Nian could ask the Qin family about everything. If they withhold anything, they will be killed. Yuanshan kept crying and repeating his eldest son's name. Father said that Xu Nian's mother didn't die. She was taken away by the Xu family from the Jade Dragon Mountain. The dean told Xu Nian that this family is very influential in the capital of Tianhai Empire. The Xu family has more power even than the leader of the country. His father added that his mother was a member of the Xu family. He found out when the family came to get her. Previously, she ran away from the family with a boyfriend, but he was a weak scholar. Then his mother entered the Qin family and became a servant. Then he fell in love with her. Xu Nian's mother was a Xuan heaven-level warrior, but she couldn't save her boyfriend's life. Yuanshan told the guy to go look for his mom and leave the Qin family alone. Now they are not related in any way. Father added, if one were to go chasing now, one could catch up with the Xu family. Yuanshan wanted the Zhu family to deal with the unfit boy. Xu Nin decided to rush over to save his mom. The dean tried to calm the young man down. She said that she knew what the rules of the Dragon Jade Mountain were. An escaped student will not be destroyed as punishment.